Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live in living color here with you only on Grande's Graveyard. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, tonight I welcome you to yet another episode of the Actors Spotlight. Yes, where I will count down the top 10 movies and performances of the career of one of Hollywood's greatest and one of the great American actors of all time. Someone that has always just oozed enthusiasm, excitement, joy. He's made you feel every different emotion underneath the sun, which in my opinion truly does make him one of the great actors tonight and of all time. And we'll discuss, his top 10 performances / movies with you here tonight. And that is the one, the only Jack Nicholson. Yes, Jack Nicholson, Actors Spotlight tonight on Grande's Graveyard. I'm very excited to discuss all things Nicholson, one of my all-time favorite actors. And it's crazy that it's taken me this long to get to a Jack Nicholson. And, I always look back when I do these at like the other actors I've done. I think we've done Robin Williams, Kurt Russell, John Candy. We have some different array of actors. Of course, the last one we did was Bette Davis, where we just focused on horror spotlight. But this one is special because out of all the ones I've done, I don't know if I have an actor that I've covered yet that had a better career overall than Jack Nicholson from top to bottom. Now, this was not a guy that found success in his early 20s like you may think. You may think, oh, Jack Nicholson, one of the great actors of all time. He probably found success right off the bat. Not really the case. He did a lot of Roger Corman movies, a lot of low-budget movies, and The Terror is the one that I can remember seeing him from, being a Roger Corman fan, from, I believe, 1963, and he did a lot of Corman pictures that were super low budget. That's mainly what he was doing in his 20s. So you fast forward really like 1969, 1970, where we'll talk about a couple of films that I think were the movies that truly did put him on the map. He's an actor that's been nominated for 12 different Academy Awards. So yes, if you're going to be pissed or bitching that, oh, you didn't pick a movie that he was nominated for an Oscar for, there's literally not enough spots on a top 10 list to cover all 12 of his nominations. Of course, of 12 nominations, Jack Nicholson won 3 Oscars, 2 for lead actor, and then, of course, 1 for supporting. Spoiler alert, all 3 of those are on the list, so you won't be disappointed and say, hey, Academy picked him and Grande didn't. That's not going to happen here tonight. But we do have 2 that made the list that he wasn't nominated for shit, but may just be his most well-known movies of all time. So we've got 10 Jack Nicholson movies tonight on Grande's Graveyard, and absolutely no regrets. And I'm very excited to get into it with y'all. But first, let's see what's going on here in the Grande's Graveyard chat. We, of course, have the lovely Miss C, who says, ciao, Grande and Graveyardian friends. Welcome, Miss C. Hope all is well with you. I don't know if we froze in here. We might have froze. Everything on my end froze. I don't know if you all could still see me. Oh, shit. Look at me going to pick comments, and then just this shit freezes on me. I don't know why. I'm frozen in time. I think we're okay now. I don't know. I'm not frozen anymore, but I'm scared to click on the next comment just because I might freeze again. I'm frozen again. God damn it, I'm frozen again on my end. What the hell is going on? Well, I don't know if you can see me. I was going to keep going because I don't like dead air. I could be talking to myself right now. Hey, Miss C says AJ's Happy Fun Time channel. AJ Zitro's in the house. Mateo is here. Ciao Grande. Jack is the man, one of the goats. For me, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The Shining, A Few Good Men, As Good as It Gets, and The Departed are probably top 5, but he's usually great in all the movies. Hi, all. Mateo, I will tell you right off the bat as a small spoiler, you will not be disappointed with my list. And if that's your top 5, I'm curious what 6 through 10 is. Just going to say that. Ciao Grande, loving the tie-dye. Hey, I gotta always support the greatest vampire slayer of all time, and that is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because she knows a sucker when she sees one. So yeah, no, I like these. They did this, and they did the orange ginger snaps one, which my mom makes fun of me and says I look like Fred Flintstone when I wear it. But yabba dabba do, I don't give a shit. Anthony Chobot does Pop Cultures and Openings. What's going on, Anthony? How you doing, buddy? By the way, I'm getting a new phone, still up to 07 in the memoirs. Slacking on the memoirs, Mr. Chobot. You got to get on that, my friend. But I hope all is well with you, and I'm stoked that you liked the Tales from the Hood VHS that you picked up recently. I saw your unboxing when you shouted me out, so thank you so much. The Soulless Trenchcoat's in the house. Bradley, what's going on? Hey, what's up, man? Dude, hope all is well with you. Super excited to have you in the chat, as always, my friend. I think that what made Jack Nicholson such a talented actor is that he was like a Jekyll and Hyde character in real life. Slasher Fred, welcome, my friend. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I mean, he could truly hit every range, and that's what I look for in a great actor, right? You look at the guys we've covered in the past: Robin Williams, Jim Carrey. Those are two guys that have made me cry laughing and have generally made me cry tears of sadness, joy, love. Like the best actors to me can convey every single emotion. And I think that Jack Nicholson's one of those guys. Like, I don't know if we have the movie that's uber sad on here. Maybe we do. I mean, and not necessarily because of him, but I mean, he really was able to make me convey every single emotion. And that's a big reason why I like doing the Actor Spotlight episodes. It's a good departure from just doing straight up horror. And it's nice to just dive into someone's career, the ups, the downs, and the top 10 as we celebrate them tonight. So that's the big reason I really like doing these. As Mernzy's Movie Mansion chimes in, hey, what's up, Graveyard fam? Grande, I love these episodes. Great choice. Jack's the man. Dude, I love doing these, man. I really do. I really enjoy doing these. And I know there was a couple different actors and actresses that I have in mind for future ones, but I always am listening to you guys. For some reason, Chris Tucker is one I really want to do. Just because I feel like no one ever talks about his career. Like they talk about Rush Hour and that's it. He's such a talented guy, and I really like a lot of the movies that he was in, the few that he was in, like Dead Presidents and Easy Money and all these movies. Like I would just love to do him. So he's somebody I definitely have on the mind for a future episode. But I'm totally open, like I said, to do these more often. I really like doing these. I know what movie I'm hoping to see tonight. Okay, I don't know I think I know what that is, but I'm not sure. People saying hi. Is Anger Management going to make the list? I'm not going to let you down. It is not going to make the list tonight. So I apologize sincerely. I did see someone in the comments when I posted the community tab asking your top favorite Jack Nicholson performances / movies. Somebody did say Anger Management. So shout out to them. And somebody did on Instagram too when I did the poll. So Anger Management is a beloved movie. I'm not that huge on it. I don't hate it, but that's definitely not one of my faves. Think it's behind Mars Attacks, Solus. Yes, I would say Mars Attacks is probably better for me. But, spoiler alert, Mars Attacks didn't make the list either. So, don't hate me. But, okay, we talked about it earlier, Grande. Fair enough. So, hey, you know what? I'm going to crack open, a cold one for Jack. To Jack Nicholson, one of Hollywood's greatest here. Oh, we're going to crack one open. We splashed my keyboard a little bit. Sorry, keyboard. So cheers to y'all with the greatest beverage that God ever invented. The original Moonshine Mountain Dew. Oh, man. We got the 12 packs for the holidays. It's Christmas when we have 12 packs. It's funny. I usually do eggnog for these shows, but I haven't had eggnog since last Christmas. So I've got to get some. I definitely got to get some eggnog on the show. Maybe next week for the round table, which should be a lot of fun. Okay, I grew up with that one, Goose Fabra. Okay, so we're going to dive right into this list. Coming in at number 10, it is one of the 3 Oscar wins that he got in his entire career, and it's a movie that I had only seen for the very first time earlier this year. And fun fact, for anyone that cares to know at home, this is Mama Grande's all-time favorite movie. This is her absolute number 1 favorite movie, and it cool enough played in the movie theater back in Huntington, and I was like, oh man, I got to take Mama Grande. This is her all-time favorite movie, and I ended up falling in love with the movie too. And of course, the legendary Jack Nicholson was in it, stealing the show and winning some Oscar gold. A movie with a great tagline: "Come to laugh, come to cry, come to care, come to terms." Yes, ladies and gentlemen, because coming in at the number 10 slot, it is Terms of Endearment. Yes, Terms of Endearment follows a hard-to-please Aurora looking for love and her daughter's family's problems. Yes, Terms of Endearment. Now, of course, this came from the novel written by James L. Brooks, who also goes on to write the screenplay, direct the film. This does have a lot of Jack Nicholson regulars and buddies in it. Of course, Danny DeVito does play one of the guys that is in love with Shirley MacLaine's character. And it basically tells the story of Shirley MacLaine and of course, Deborah Winger, who I just think that she's this movie. When I think Terms of Endearment, to me, it's Deborah Winger. Deborah Winger steals this movie, and it's their relationship as mother, of course, this disapproving mother and daughter who is just larger than life. She marries, of course, Jeff Daniels' character, and Shirley MacLaine does not approve of him. Shirley MacLaine is this woman that hasn't had sex in a long time, and she has all these, guys that try to woo her and womanize and all this stuff, and she's never interested in any of them, and of course, until her next door neighbor moves in, and it's Jack Nicholson, and he's playing this retired NASA, worker who is larger than life, bringing home women that are, twice as young as him, and they're definitely some honeys for Jack Nicholson to pull. And she slowly but surely, even though she thinks he's disgusting, she thinks he's rude, she thinks he's all these horrible things, she starts to slowly but surely like him. And in vain, she starts to come around and be like, I like that guy. I want to go out with that guy. And it's a really nice, slow, like gradual kind of thing between the two. As I'm frozen again here. What the hell? Am I frozen on your end, guys? I'm so sorry if I am. I've never frozen this many times in a show, at least basically 10 minutes in. Sorry. I think it's okay now. Now I'm not frozen. But as I was saying, before I was so rudely interrupted, they started that slow, gradual kind of love story, and I loved the two of them together. I thought they did such a great job. Here's Shirley MacLaine, who could have any guy at her age that she could ever want, but she wants the kind of dangerous, kind of more daring Jack Nicholson character. There's some great scenes where they go out to dinner with one another, and she's sitting down and saying, "I'm only going to stay for this long. I need to be home by 2:00. It's a new, like, she won't even go out to dinner. She has to go out to lunch. Like, that's how uptight this woman is. And Jack Nicholson, as soon as she sits down, he goes, man, I got to get you drunk. Like, I love it. He just comes right out with it. Like, I got to get you drunk, woman. Like, I always thought that was fucking funny as hell as he kind of delivers that. And then there's some great scenes of them driving on the beach and having fun together. He kind of teaches her to loosen up, right? Some people are so uptight and so closed out of the world and don't want any part of it, and they know better than everybody. Here comes Jack Nicholson as almost like this white knight in shining armor from NASA, to kind of get her to loosen up a little bit. Loosen up, Tin Man, like oil up the hinges. And she slowly but surely starts to find happiness through him. And then, of course, the whole rest of the movie is Deborah Winger, her marriage crumbling, her life crumbling, her trying to take care and raise her kids. And then, of course, you get to the part where you find out that she's terminally ill with cancer, hence the title. And it's really sad. I mean, the movie goes from very fun and lighthearted and warm to like depressing as hell, and you're crying your eyes out at the end. And it's really, really well done. It's well told. James Brooks was a guy that Jack Nicholson will go on to work with quite a lot. Of course, one of his other projects he worked with him will make this list as well. That's no surprise, at least to me it isn't. But this one, it was such a cool little side role for Jack Nicholson, and he did nab the Best Supporting Actor award at the Academy Awards that year. And of course, Deborah Winger, I think, was snubbed. They gave it to Shirley MacLaine, and Shirley's good, but to me, Deborah Winger's just unmatched in this movie. Like, it's one of my favorite performances. I would say it's a top 10 actress performance of all time is Deborah Winger in this movie. She's so great. Makes you, again, you just love her, you root for her, and just all this rotten shit comes her way, and she kind of has to deal with it, and it's a shame, that of what happens to her character. But this is a movie, again, that makes you feel every single emotion, just like Jack, right? It will make you laugh, come to cry, come to terms. Like, that's this movie. And I think that Jack Nicholson adds such a good heart, energy, and just looseness to this movie that to me made it have to make the list here. So Terms of Endearment, to me, an absolute slam dunk, a movie that he did win an Academy Award for. I totally love this one. So Terms of Endearment comes in at the number 10 slot. We have Cal L. Daly. What up, Grande? What's going on, Cal L? Hope all is well with you. We got If Mama Grande Approves, It's a Winner. Yeah, my mom told me she saw this in the movies 6 times when it came out. And I mean, this year was number 7. She got to see it a 7th time in the movie. Like, this is my mom's favorite movie. And I was so, like, I felt even closer with my mom than ever when we finally got to go see this on the big screen. It was a really, next to empty theater, but it was such a cool experience for the two of us. It was like, for that night, my mom got to be in the 1980s again, and I got to be with her this time. So it was really nice. It was a really, really nice moment for the two of us. And it's emotional, man. It's this story of a mother and child, right? And that's, I guess, mother and child going to the movies. And to me, it's like Jack Nicholson was the perfect formula to kind of turn this thing on its head and give it that lighter heart and lighter attitude when it needed to, because obviously things get very, very dreary as the movie moves on. Ace of Movies is in the house. Hello and thanks. Well, you're very welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. There was a sequel called The Evening Star, which apparently everybody was ashamed to be a part of. James L. Brooks did not come back. I've only heard bad things about that movie. I've never heard a positive, so that's a shame. Hello, host. Have you seen Hoffa and The Last Detail? I have seen both. One of them is on the list. I'm sorry. I thought it said Ace of Movies. Acres of Movies. I'm so sorry. If I could only read with my 4 eyes, my friend. I keep freezing. This is so frustrating. I have no idea why. My computer, my speed, or everything. I don't know why. But acres of movies, if I could say it perfectly right here. I have seen both. Only one makes the list, though. I'll let you guess on which one, my friend. Let's see. One of the 80s movies that Jack Nicholson was in was the remake of The Postman Always Rings Twice. Absolutely. That did not make my list, but I believe he was nominated for an Academy Award. Good movie, but not my fave. Great Nicholson is the astronaut, but these kind of movies, Terms, Love Story, Steel Magnolias, not for me. Shout out to... That's right. That's right. Friggin' Deborah Winger cheats on Jeff Daniels with John Lithgow, and like this very like harmless. I remember I first saw the movie, I thought he was going to be this prick. I was like, oh no, like this is this kind of movie. Like this guy's going to end up being like this nightmare, and he's just the nicest guy in the world. He's like, can we go to this motel? Like, he's the nicest. Like if your wife was to ever cheat on you, you'd want her to cheat on you with John Lithgow in this movie. Like I don't know how to explain it. He's like the nicest person. But he's awesome in it. I totally understand that. Yeah. You know, people have told, oh, it's a chick flick. Totally. I don't deny that. But I think, man, considering this is a damn good chick flick, in my opinion, it really hit for me. And I don't know, like it was a nice night with my mom. Acres of movies. I'm 5'3". My sister used to call me Minnie Mouse. Host, did I hear you say you're 6 feet tall? I was the shortest girl in the... What the heck? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Host, did you see The Postman Always Rings Twice, or Going South, or The Two Jakes, or Heartburn, or Blood and Wine? Thanks. Wow, there's a lot of questions. I've seen Postman Always Rings Twice. I've seen Going South, not a fan. The Two Jakes I've never watched. Heartburn I've not seen. Blood and Wine I have, but I forgot the movie, to be honest with you. If you've ever seen the movie Tommy, which is based on Who's Rock opera, Jack Nicholson had a small appearance as a doctor during the Go to the Mirror Boy song. Okay, cool. Excited to see which is on the list. Awesome. Terms is a great movie. I love that John Lithgow is in it as well. Great cast. Yeah, it's a great cast. It's definitely a movie I think that had to make it. Got to admit, Term surprised me seeing it on your list because Jack is a side character. That's right. Hey, a lot of these, the first few of these, he's a side character, and he did win an Academy Award for this one. So to me, I don't know. I don't think you necessarily have to be the lead for it to be an all-time great performance and important to your career. I mean, this was an important role for him, I think. And I think this is, without this one, I don't know if he wins an Oscar later on in his career. I'll say that. So little hint, little wink, wink. But number 10, Terms of Endearment, one that I think had to make this list here, one that I really, really like. This next one, though, I don't have a lot to say on it because of all the movies I was able to do for show prep and watch and prepare like I usually do. This was the only one I just didn't get a chance to revisit, so I apologize in advance. I don't have the most in the world to say about this movie, but there's no doubt and there's no denying that without this movie, I don't know if Jack Nicholson ever takes off the way that he does. I think in a lot of ways, this is a huge movie in his career just based on putting him on the map as far as that goes. Because like I was saying, he was doing a lot of Corbin films in the early 1960s. He would do a lot of like movies like A Safe Place a little after this, which is one of the most bizarre cameos in movie history. But this one right here, I think, is the movie that truly put him on the map and came around right at the right time, right? When the counterculture movement of the late 1960s and leading into the early 1970s and peace and love and all these things. And of course, I'm talking about the movie from 1969. This is Easy Rider. Yes, Easy Rider from 1969. Brief plot synopsis. Two bikers head from LA to New Orleans through the open country and desert lands, and along the way they meet a man who bridges a counterculture gap of which they had been unaware. Yes, Easy Rider. Now, like I was saying, this is one, unfortunately, I have to kind of gloss over. It really has been a while since I've watched the movie. But in terms of importance of his career, to me, this is the movie that made him Jack Nicholson. Like that's when it became he was the marquee. And you got to keep in mind, Jack Nicholson, he had been acting like 30 plus years, or well, not acting 30, but he'd been alive 30 plus years at this point. And this was really the movie that finally made him like, okay, Jack Nicholson's a household name. And everybody remembers let me take my drink. And then he takes the drink and then Nick, and then later on when they were by the campfire, he's telling all this stuff. A free man will do anything to prove to you that he's free. And he's going on about all these spiels. And I think his character really drives the narrative of the whole spirit of the movie and the whole idea of this counterculture movement that was going on at that time period. His character is probably the most important thing in the movie, even though he's killed off. in the movie fairly early on. I mean, it's like maybe halfway through, maybe. I don't know if it's exactly halfway through or not, but he dies pretty early on in the movie. And then, of course, it's left to Dennis Hopper and, Dennis Hopper and freaking Peter Fonda to carry it from there. But his character was so vital and important to it. And I think that's the movie where people took notice of him. And that's why I've always thought that this had to be on the list. I was like, there's no way you could fight for Easy Rider not to make the list. Like, I don't know if his entire career happens if it's not for Easy Rider. And even though, again, it's a small role, it was the role that had the most to say. It was the role that had the biggest impact in the movie. And again, he's not the lead, but a side character meant so much to this film. And everybody remembered all the quirky stuff that Jack was doing and how he makes you laugh and how he made you think about culture and the times and what it was to be free versus, not free. And I think that Easy Riders is a perfect example of that. I think Jack Nicholson just almost steals the movie in his own way. And it's, again, while it's considered an American classic, and it is, there's no doubt, to me, the best thing and the biggest takeaway from Easy Rider always was Jack Nicholson and his performance, no matter how short it is. Totally one that had to make the list for me. Let's see. What'd you say? Why does Deborah Winger not work much after the 1980s? That's a fuck. I mean, maybe one day we'll do a Deborah Winger. I mean, from what I understand, she was really hard to work with. Everything I've ever heard about Deborah Winger was she was really tough to work with. And the big story that I thought was funny as shit, but I guess at the time, people thought she was disgusting and disgraced for doing this. We even use that movie, Terms of Endearment, even though there's multiple movies where she had problems with people. Shirley MacLaine and her didn't like each other at all. There was a point where the director said, "Hey, I have marks on the the kitchen floor and the dining room floor, and we're going to go from one room to the other. Make sure you hit your marks." And of course, Shirley MacLaine did a couple of takes and fucked up. She didn't go to the right mark, so they didn't have the right angle, the right shot, the right framing, whatever. So they had to go back and reshoot it. Deborah Winger was like, look at your fucking marks. Like, what are you doing? And Shirley MacLaine's like, I've been doing this a lot longer than you. Like, get out of my face. And Deborah Winger went, okay, I'm just showing you your marks over there. She pointed, turned around, and fucking farted. Like, really loud and obnoxiously and probably stanky. And, of course, Shirley MacLaine was pissed. And they had to be pulled apart. She was like, you can't fucking fart in my face. Do you know who I am? And she was like, I know you are, bitch. I don't care. Hit your marks. So that's just one story. And I've heard of, like, if you read Deborah Winger stories, bro, you'll be like, holy shit. Like, that's when you'll stop asking the question, why didn't she work much after? Great talent, just a lot of people had a hard time working with her. And it wasn't just actors and actresses. It was, cinematographers, it was directors, it was writers, it was all these people that, were making the productions go. They didn't like her either. She wasn't a likable lady. But there's no doubt that she should have won the Oscar over Shirley MacLaine. I mean, it's straight robbery to me. And I know they had a moment at the Oscars, apparently, where Shirley went to Deborah after winning Best Actress and said, half of this is yours, even begrudgingly not liking her. And Deborah Winger said, I'll take half. And that's a nice story. But yeah, farting, ripping ass in the lady's fucking face. It's so true. That's so true. You could have a Oscar nominations versus not. You get nominated for 12 Oscars. I mean, shit, 10 is not enough, really. I love Wolf. I love it. I'm not going to get your hopes up. It didn't make my list, but I love Wolf. Wolf would have, if this was a top 15 even, that would have made the list for sure. I like that movie a lot. Generational movie, unexpected ending, kick-ass soundtrack, Fonda, Hopper, Nicholson, what a trio. Dude, totally. Like, a movie I haven't watched to death in my life. That's probably why it's a little bit lower too. And he's a side character. But to me, it's like this put him on the map. Like the next year, he makes the movie that to me made him an all-time great actor. But this was the movie where it's like, okay, that guy. Like that was the movie that made him a star to me. Easy Rider's a classic, man. Always thought it was wild they killed him off. The ending too. Yeah, no, it's really like as far as counterculture movies, I don't know if you can name one more famous or important than Easy Rider. You might be able to name ones better, but I don't know if you can name ones that had more impact than this movie. Like this was a really, really important movie at the time, and it came out right at the right time. It was like the end of one decade and it bled into the other. So yeah, Easy Rider is a classic. I just wish I could have watched it that was the one movie I didn't get to. Easy Rider had a small appearance by Tony Basil, who later became known for singing the 80s cheerleading song Mickey. Oh my God, is that real? I didn't know that. It also starred Karen Black is in Easy Rider, who would go on the following year to be in a movie that also makes this list with Mr. Jack Nicholson. So stay tuned for that one because that's an awesome movie too. But Easy Rider comes in at the number 9 slot, a movie that I really, really enjoy. But moving on into our next pick of the evening, we go to a movie that celebrated its 32nd anniversary yesterday. And I didn't even realize that. My buddy sent me it. He's like, aren't you doing Jack Nicholson movies tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, dude, check this out. And it was the 32nd anniversary of this movie yesterday. So I was like, holy cow, that's absolutely wild. And it's from the year 1992 and director Rob Reiner. Talk about this movie right here. A Few Good Men. Yes, A Few Good Men from 1992. Again, I've frozen. I don't know what is up with my computer tonight, so sorry. But we have a brief plot synopsis. A military lawyer is tasked with defending 2 U.S. Marines charged with murdering a fellow Marine and intends to prove they were only following their base commander's orders. Yes. A Few Good Men. Did you order the Code Red? Everyone always jokes with me with that. Did you order the Code Red, Grande? Of course, I love Code Red. Mountain Dew is my favorite drink, by God. But in all seriousness, this was, I think, a movie that initially when I was making this list wasn't going to make it. Like, it wasn't on the list. It was a movie that once I was finalizing the list, I'm like, man, should that be on there? That's a great performance. That's a movie that's like really, I don't know, memorable. And that's what I ended up going with it. And the reason it makes the list is because of how memorable it is. This is a great movie. And Rob Reiner is a great filmmaker. I mean, Rob Reiner at this time was the best director in the world. And I know people probably shake their head at that, but it's the truth. I mean, look at This Is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, fucking Princess Bride, fucking Misery, fucking A Few Good Men. How many great movies did Rob Reiner make around this time? When Harry Met Sally. He made all those movies, to me, are classics, and they're all in different subgenres of film, right? We have a fucking comedy in there. We have a fantasy film. We have a coming of age film. We have a mockumentary. We have a romantic comedy. And then we have a movie like this where this was really right before he hit rock bottom with North, which funny enough, rock bottom was North. That's the worst Rob Reiner movie without a doubt. But before that happened, he makes this little movie right here. And of course, got the legendary Aaron Sorkin to do the screenplay. And Aaron Sorkin writes some great screenplays, and this is just no exception. Of course, you have Tom Cruise as the lead. This guy trying to defend these 2 military officers that were ordered to kill another. And, they claim they were only taking orders. And of course, they have to find a way to prove, that they were ordered to kill this guy, Santiago. And it basically is a lot of talk. I mean, this is a dialogue strictly movie, but I always thought Rob Reiner did a great job at kind of amping the pace. Tom Cruise does a good job to anchor the film. Demi Moore is a great side character. And of course, you have Jack Nicholson as this big military evil heel. And he's electric in this movie. He really is. And I think this had to be on the list. When I sat and thought about it, I was like, this has to make it, because it's just like, even though he was on set for 10 days, he was on set for 10 days of this movie. You got to remind yourself, this was around the time Hoffa was being filmed. So he's working on that movie with Danny DeVito. That was supposed to be the bigger movie of the 2. Funny enough, they came out the same weekend, and A Few Good Men stomped the fuck out of Hoffa from a financial standpoint. And Jack Nicholson, to this day, is fucking pissed about it. He felt that the movie should have been separated, not released on the same day. And of course, what happened was A Few Good Men stomped the shit out of it at the box office, and he was pissed because he's only in this movie for 3 scenes. He's in Hoffa for the whole fucking movie, and he couldn't handle the truth. I mean, he makes this movie at the end. I mean, it's truly only a few scenes. It's only 10 days of filming for $500,000, but he really makes his presence known. And the scene that I always think of when I think of this movie is, of course, the courtroom stuff. But towards the beginning, they all sit down to have lunch. And of course, Demi Moore and Tom Cruise and all these people and Jack Nicholson are at the table. And he says this fucking really fucked up thing. And he says something along the lines of, oh, you know what the greatest pleasure a man can get? If a superior female officer that's a higher rank than him gets on her knees and sucks him off. And then, like, you're just like, what the fuck? And he goes, well, I'm so high. I mean, they'd have to elect a woman the president of the United States for me to get my fix. Just like the perfect dialogue to just make you go, oh, what a fucking piece of shit human. Oh my God. Like, you just want to see this guy get what he has coming to him. And it's a great, like way to make you hate. Like he's just a guy you love to hate. Like, oh my God, I hope this guy gets what's coming to him. And it all comes down to this culmination in the courtroom of Tom Cruise trying to ask him if he ordered the code red, if he ordered the hit. He goes on this whole spiel against Tom Cruise. And did you order the code red? You're goddamn right I did. And you're goddamn right I did, and I would do it again. And just the back and forth between those two, spieling Aaron Sorkin dialogue. I'm sorry, but it's there's a few good movies that are going to beat A Few Good Men when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, that's really, it makes this movie in a league of its own for me. I love that stuff. It's just such a great ending. And the rest of the movie as a whole is great too. But to me, bringing Nicholson in as this heel, as this guy you just hate, and even though it's limited screen time, he makes his presence and everybody fucking remembers. I saw it thrown in the comments how many times, you can't handle the truth. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth, boy. I love that. I just think Jack Nicholson was so good in this movie as this guy you love to hate. So that's A Few Good Men. I'm curious to hear what y'all have to say. Where the hell were we? I think we were here. I think that what made Easy Rider such a classic movie is the songs, especially Born to Be Wild. Sure. Deborah Winger was kept under control by Bob Rafelson for Black Widow, with Teresa Russell in Underrated Thriller. She was a problem for Mike's Murder movie and Everybody's All-American. And funny enough, we'll be discussing a Bob Rafelson movie later on this list of Everybody Wins. Black Widow it's Hitchcockian. You can't handle the truth. Love that. That's a great line. I met him at a Lakers-Nets game in 1999. He was there with Lara Flynn Boyle and his son. He was not shy, and he enjoyed talking to us about the movies, then talked about the Lakers and growing up as a New York Giants fan. Holy shit. That is so freaking cool. You met him 25 years ago. And I know his son was just recently in Smile 2. So if anyone saw Smile 2, you'll see the son of Jack Nicholson. He's in that movie, and he looks just like him. You can't handle the truth. I absolutely love this movie. Yeah, it's a great movie. It really, really is. Great movie. Each one Reiner made was great in his era, but I can't help but think if Misery and this one wouldn't have been better with a different director. Misery with De Palma improves that. See, I think he did a great job with Misery. I actually really like Misery. You're saying De Palma or Levinson? I mean, maybe De Palma. I don't think Barry Levinson would have made as good a movie as Rob Reiner did. I think that movie was lightning in a bottle. Nobody ever thought Kathy Bates would play a role like that well, and then it became the role that defined her whole career. And James Caan, always this guy, movies like Thief and The Godfather, so many great roles. To be lying in a bed the whole movie and give the performance that he does, it's great. I don't know. I think Misery's perfect. I really like that movie. In the movie, Tom Cruise says, "I want the truth." And in Chinatown, Jake says the line when he is confronting Evelyn. That's right. You know what happens to nosy men? They get the nose cut. I love that. Jack Nicholson is a military Jack. He's great as it's so viable. This guy that just thinks he's above everybody. This guy that's holier than thou. This guy that doesn't have to answer to anybody because he believes he is that damn good. He believes he's that damn important. And it's so good to see him get his just desserts at the end. I'll get you. He's yelling at Tom Cruise as they're pulling him away, holding him in contempt. Jack looks like so kick-ass in the military uniform. Great performance. I want to give credit to the great Kevin Pollak that he's never gets talked about. Dude, that's a great point. Kevin Pollak also, of course, works with Tom Cruise and Demi Moore. It's like the three of them trying to work on this case together. Kevin Bacon is in the movie as the other guy, like the defender. I don't know the court title, but he's the guy opposing Tom Cruise in the movie. He's great in the movie as well. This movie has a lot of great performances in it and a lot of great acting all around. So, I mean, you care. Great movie, though. Yet still just needs a little more push of great filmmaking. Reiner would later fall apart once his quote went up to, and he couldn't get the big stars after North. Yeah, North was, oh, man. The host should play the Nicholson character in the stage play ASAP Yay. Host as Jessup. Oh, boy. 2 years later, Barry Levinson and Demi Moore would work on a movie called Disclosure, which was based on Michael Crichton's novel. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, no, this is A Few Good Men, which to me totally deserves to make this list. It's a really, really good movie, and his performance is definitely one of the biggest reasons as to why. But we move on here into our next movie, and this is the first one where we're going to get where Jack Nicholson actually was the lead. It won't be the last one where he was not the lead, but this is the first one where he was. And if you were asking me, Grande, like, what your top, like, performance aside, give me like your top 5, top 3 Jack Nicholson movies. This would be on there. I don't know if it'd be number 5, 4, 3, 2, or whatever, but this would be in the top 5. Just if it was performance not included, I think this is in the top 3 best Jack Nicholson movies. I'd probably go that far to say I love this movie. I think this movie is criminally underrated, and it's from the year 1973. The Last Detail. Yes, The Last Detail from 1973. Brief plot synopsis. 2 Navy men are ordered to bring in a young offender to prison, but decide to show him one last good time along the way home. I know that Jack Nicholson was so mad that he didn't win the Academy Award for this movie. And I think he went on record saying, don't misquote, I might misquote here, that he felt that he deserved to win this more for this than he did even for Cuckoo's Nest. And he did even for, Terms of Endearment. Like, this was the one that he felt was his all-time best performance. Like, if you ask Jack Nicholson, what's your best performance? His answer was this movie. He felt this was his all-time greatest role. I think he's great in the movie. I think the movie's even greater than that. I don't know if I'd say this is the all-time best. I still think he's great in the movie. I just don't, like, there were performances from him that I felt like I got a whole hell of a lot more. But I love this character in this. It's, of course, him and his, side officer who's played by Otis Young, who didn't honestly go on to do enough movies. They're these 2 Navy officers, and they go on to pick up Randy Quaid's character, and their whole objective is to deliver him to jail. And they have a couple of days to go there and get back. And what you essentially get is a road movie. And I know it's not technically, they're not in a car the whole time, but they're on trains a lot. They're traveling a lot. They stop at some places a lot. Like, it's kind of like a road comedy where they take a liking to Randy Quaid because he's so awkward and goofy and not good with women. So they want to get him laid. They want to teach him to be a man. They want to teach him to stand up for himself. And a lot of this movie, to me, and my good friend Will McDevitt, who actually did serve in the Navy, he told me, he's like, I hope you shout me out on this, and I will. So shout out to McDevitt. He said there's no movie that is more accurate to what it actually is like being in the Navy than The Last Detail. So that's coming from someone that he was in the Navy. He was enlisted. A lot of his family, I believe his whole family, had served in the Navy at one point or another. So that's coming from somebody that the authenticity and the actuality of a movie like this is so there. And Jack Nicholson, I think, just does a great job. He's rocking the handlebar mustache, as you can see on the poster in this. Him and Otis Young have chemistry like Batman and Robin, peas and carrots, peanut butter and jelly, whatever dynamic duo you want to name. They just have great chemistry. And I love them and their work with Randy Quaid. There's some great scenes where they're in the diner and Randy Quaid orders this cheeseburger and they don't melt the cheese. And he goes, they didn't melt my cheese. And he's like, send it back. And he's like, well, it's fine. I'll just eat it. He's like, no, send it back. You ordered it that way. That's the way you want it. That's the way you're going to deserve it. That's the way you're going to get it. And he just kind of gets up in Randy's face. And then Randy, all right, send it back. Put some cheese on it. And you see later in the film, they order something. He says, I ordered my eggs over easy. And the guy says, they are over easy. He goes, nope, send them back. They're not over easy. And Jack Nicholson, you see him like light up. He's like, yes. He's like, he's learning. Like, I love that kind of realization of his character where he's like, yes, like something I taught you, it's sticking and you're sticking up for yourself. You're being a man. I love that. I thought that was great. There's some great fun scenes where they go to a whorehouse and they decide, hey, we'll pay for him to have sex with somebody because nobody else will lay him willingly. They pay this lady all this money and then he comes before he even gets his clothes off. And then all right, we'll give you another shot. We'll pay you another shot. Like, I thought that was so funny. He sits down to him. He's like, you got to take your fucking time. Like, I thought this movie was just funny. Like, it just all around, just always puts you in a good mood, makes you laugh, just makes you like, I think this movie also, even aside from the whole Navy thing, I think it's a great depiction of life. Like, I love the look and kind of themes of life in this movie, like the way they're talking, the way they're laughing, the way they're hanging out with one another, the conversations, they feel so fucking organic to me. Like, these are conversations I've had with my friends. These are conversations that you've heard before. It doesn't feel written at all. It just feels so organic and has a great flow and just charm to it. I just love this movie's charm. There's a really funny scene where they find this kind of group of, I would call them like weird hippies, but I don't know what the term for them would be, forgive me. I was not alive at this time. This is a 51-year-old movie, so maybe there was a proper term to call these people, but I don't know what that is. So if you know it, feel free to tell me. But he sees these people and they're kind of like saying all this gibberish, like ah, bah, 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 bah. And he starts doing it. He's like, oh, that sounds cool. It's inspiring, dude. He's doing it at a random bar, and this random hot lady comes over to him, and is like, hey, like introduce yourself, And then Otis Young, he's like, if this motherfucker gets pussy, we need to retire now. I thought that was so funny too. I thought that was great. And you'll see some familiar faces in here. I mean, you'll see Gilda Radner is one of these hippies at one point. You'll see Nancy Allen as somebody that Jack Nicholson's hitting on in the movie at some point. He's trying to use his macho man status, and she's just not buying it. I think this was great. I thought this was just such a great movie from top to bottom. And to me, this is one of the movies similar vein to Clerks, where towards the end I get sad. And there's really no reason to. Like, why would you get sad at the end of Last Detail? It's not that depressing. I get sad as a movie watcher, as a movie fan, that the movie's wrapping up. I get sad that it's over. Like, because, of course, you get to the realization of, okay, we've had all of our fun, but now you have to go to jail. Now you have to do your time. And there's this great scene where they're all having hot dogs in the middle of the dead of winter, and Jack Nicholson forgets the hot dogs, and Otis Young says, motherfucker, how am I supposed to eat this motherfucking hot dog? And Jack Nicholson goes, well, I'll fucking eat it then. Like, I thought that was great. And then Randy Quaid makes a run for it. He just starts taking off running, and he's trying to escape. They're trying to get him. I mean, I don't know. I just adore this movie. I think this is such a great movie. I would say in the top three, you're taking the performance out of it, it's a top three overall movie that Jack Nicholson ever did. It's fun, it's genuine, it's organic, it just flows really good. I really like The Last Detail. I think this is a great movie. This is one that like I highly recommend, and you can stream this one on Tubi. This is free to watch on Tubi, so if you don't own it, don't worry about it. You can watch this thing free on Tubi. And man, I won't lie to you, I had a rough week at work this week, but this movie just immediately, like, that's what movies are for to me. The escapism of reality of a bad day at the office. A movie like this will put a smile on my face and make me forget why I was ever sad at all. So that's what I think of The Last Detail. It's great. And Jack Nicholson's great in the movie too. Like the performance itself is good. I always kind of saw it more as he's playing himself. Like it very much feels like maybe that's why, like when I'm saying an actor, I want to see you play a different character, like somebody who's not Jack Nicholson. I think that's maybe why this was so near and dear to him, because a lot of it is him. So I could see why. And everyone says, in pro wrestling, the best pro wrestlers are yourself dialed up to 11. That's exactly what this character, it's Jack Nicholson dialed up to 11. And man, who isn't here for that? So The Last Detail, man, I couldn't recommend that one anymore. I really couldn't. Let's see. This is a fun list so far. Thank you so much. Wow, cool surprise. The Last Detail, absolutely. Jack's now 87. Last movie done 2010. Do you think he's going to do another movie for me? Fortunately, the answer is no. Yeah, I mean, he did say after doing that movie, which was with James Brooks, that he was going to retire. I remember that was a big story at the time. And I remember a lot of people went to the movies it was like, this is the last time we're going to see Jack Nicholson in the movies. And it really ended up being a shitty movie. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it later. It was like with Owen Wilson and like Reese Witherspoon. It was just a really like not worthy of being your last film. I kind of wish he had ended his career, funny enough, with Rob Reiner when the two reunited with The Bucket List. I love that movie with he and Morgan Freeman. And if you've seen that movie, you know what happens to Jack Nicholson's character. I think what better way to send you off? Like, what better way to end your career than on a movie like that? He's great. Jack Nicholson's great. Just so likable in that. Either that or maybe About Schmidt. Maybe either one of those would have been a good time to call it a career. But 87 years old. He's got nothing left to prove. I appreciate that he retired and didn't just come back again and again and again for easy paydays, which is something he totally could have done. But I just respect him. I have a lot of respect for him. I respect that he's still going to the Lakers games. He's still out there supporting his Lakers. I don't know. I have a lot of respect for Jack Nicholson, and I think that it's probably best that he stays retired. And it's nice to go back and look at all of the great moments and characters that he played on a show like this. And that's why this week was so fun. Like, I loved doing show prep this week. It was just really fun to take a look inside, and read some interesting stories about the guy himself. The Two Jakes, I'd like to get on DVD. He directed that one, and I enjoy watching that one. Awesome. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest had a small appearance by Angelica Houston, and a year later, her late father was in Chinatown, of course. And, of course, he dated Angelica Houston, which we will get there. And Prizzy's and Prizzy's Honor / Fred. I got to see this one. Dude, Trench, I think of all the ones on this list, you would love this one the most. That was cool when you had Rambo Raff on. You have good ideas and a fun channel. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you so much, Acres of Movies. I appreciate the kind words. Got to see this one. I know it's got a nice indicator release. Does it really? I didn't know that. I'll pick that up in a heartbeat. I would love to hear anyone talk about this movie. Like, this is a really, really, really good movie. And I don't know. I was just floored by it ever since the first time I saw it. And I'm happy. I know McDevitt is a huge fan, so shout out to him. Bucket List is good. Totally agree. Bucket List is awesome. Speaking of awesome, coming in at I think we're at the number 6 now. Wow, these time fly. I mean, holy shit. We've been doing this for 45 minutes. We're at number 6. I don't even feel like I've been on here for 10 minutes. It's crazy. This next movie, though, was possibly could you name a bigger movie he ever did? In terms of money, in terms of, importance. And I mean, you could argue this should be number 1. You really could argue this. And what is the number 1 movie most people remember Jack Nicholson for? It is probably this movie. That comes in at the number 6 slot from the year 1989, of course, from director Tim Burton, of course, starring co-side Michael Keaton. Talking about Batman from 1989. Brief plot synopsis. The Dark Knight of Gotham City begins his war on crime with his first major enemy being Jack Napier, a criminal who becomes a clownishy, homicidal Joker. Yes, I'm happier now. This was, at the time, huge. And I know I wasn't alive at the time. How do you know that? This was fucking huge. This movie, like, you can't deny how fucking big of a movie this was when it came out. I mean, this was the movie of that year, probably of the decade, in terms of the big movie feel, that big blockbuster feel. And of course, everyone was complaining about Michael Keaton. You have Mr. Mom playing Batman. Fuck you. I love Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton in Night Shift, Michael Keaton in Birdman, Michael Keaton in My Life, Michael Keaton as the Joker, and Michael Keaton as Batman, not as the Joker. But of course, the thing that nobody was complaining about at the time was that they got Jack Nicholson to be the Joker. And I know a lot of people have criticized how much money he got. Of course, he had a $6 million payday, which is insane. But he also got a large profit of the movie of what it grossed and ended up making a $66 million payday for this movie, if not more. I might be understating that. And this is in 1989. If you adjust that to inflation, that's 35 years ago. I could not fucking imagine what that payout is now. What's 66 million adjusted to inflation 35 years ago? How much would that be? I'm literally not even kidding you. I would probably be close to $500 million. I would think. It's got to be in that ballpark. I don't know, though. But this movie right here, while I like the sequel better, I like Batman Returns a little bit more. And I would say I like Batman Forever a little bit more. The great thing about it to me is Keaton and Nicholson. And to me, the brilliance that they had to make these two guys different, right? Because Keaton, I always thought, dialed it back to 5 on purpose. And we talked about this when we did the Michael Keaton special. He dials it back to 5 because no one's going to out Nicholson. Nobody's going to dial it up as high as Jack Nicholson playing a comic book character villain and one of the most infamous villains that there's ever been in the Joker. And to me, his performance in this just makes it so memorable. When he finds out that, I'm happier now, and the permanent smile, and, some of the fun, like the Prince song in the fucking museum where they're trashing everything up. And, have you ever danced with the wolf, and whatever the fucking the line is. I'm sorry for it's slipping my mind, but he asked that trait of people before he kills his victims. He asks, have you ever danced in the moonlight with the devil? Like something like that. And Michael Keaton, for the only time in the movie, dials it up higher than him. He goes, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." He gets in his face, and I love that. I thought the two of them played off each other so well. And Jack was great. I mean, Jack was electric. Jack needed to play this part. Like, I know that they considered other guys at the time. There was only one choice, one guy, one place, one time to play this character in this movie, and it was Jack Nicholson. I mean, it's really arguably his most important role, and it's definitely his biggest payday. I mean, no actor is going to get a $66 million payday for just anything. I mean, that's fucking insane, the amount of money he got with this. This town needs an enema. I'm going to give it to him. I mean, yeah, I love that. The whole idea of the gas and stuff like that. To me, though, I don't know why. And I think I was telling Merdsy about this. I forget who the fuck I was telling. I think it was Merdsy. My favorite line in this whole movie is towards the end where he knows he's beat. Like, Michael Keaton's taken over. He's beating the hell out of him. He's going from laughing to like, I know I'm fucked now. He puts glasses on and he looks at Michael Keaton and he goes, "You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?" Still making a joke. Like, to me, the psychology of that's off the charts. You know you're beat. You're on the top of a building. You've lost your leverage. Vicky Vale is not in your arms anymore. Michael Keaton's beating the holy hell out of you. And what else would the Joker do but crack a joke and say, "You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses, would you?" I mean, that's my favorite line. One of my favorite Jack Nicholson moments of his entire career. I always thought that's like, what a perfect fucking moment in this movie, before he meets his demise. And this great. I mean, the stuff with Jack Palance, the stuff with the mask and his girlfriend. This was just a mega movie. And it grossed all this money, man. It really, really was an iconic movie. Whether you're in this camp, I know there's tons of camps of Batman fans. I like the Burton movies. I like the Adam West stuff. I like the Joel Schumacher films. I like the fucking, Christian Bale, Dark Knight trilogy, Christopher Nolan stuff. And then now you have the Robert Pattinson guy. I mean, there's so much stuff when it comes to Batman, but I think one thing that everyone's in agreement, no matter if you like this movie, if you don't like this movie, if you're in this camp or not, I don't think anybody can deny how perfect Jack Nicholson was in this role and how he brought this character off the comic book page to life before our eyes on screen, and he did it more colorful than any other actor did after him, right? I mean, I love Heath Ledger. I thought he did the best. I don't think there was a better Joker than Heath Ledger. But I will say, as a comic book character, nobody outdid Jack Nicholson. You could talk about Mark Hamill all you want. Jared Leto could go fuck himself. I mean, there's just one Jack Nicholson, and it's this performance as the Joker. He's so freaking good and menacing. I just think he's great. He really drives the movie. But let's go back to the comments. Let's see. I think we were here. James Abernathy checks in. James Abernathy, what's going on, buddy? All the way from the UK. Hope all is well. This movie was the inspiration for serious superhero movie genre because for a while superheroes were considered to be goofy characters. Sure. I mean, you have Superman come out in 78, and the big gimmick was, wow, we could see a man fly. We could see him fly around the world. We got a guy like Gene Hackman to play Lex Luthor. We got the beautiful, voluptuous Margot Kidder to play Lois Lane. We got Christopher Reeve as the only Superman to me. I don't think you'll ever have another Superman. He was Superman. I love the sequel, Superman 2. Superman 3 underperformed. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace was a fucking canon film, right? And it all crumbled. And this at the time was the first time we had seen Batman on the big screen since the 1960s. And this could have gone horribly wrong. You got John Peters as the producer. You have fucking Tim Burton as the director, who I do believe is very hit and miss. You have Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom, who everybody wanted to hate in this role and could not help but put him over. And then you look at Jack Nicholson to really anchor it all together. You have an actual movie star to be the villain of your fucking movie. And yeah, he got a fat payday for it, but it was worth every fucking penny because he delivered. And we're still talking about it 35 fucking years later. We're still here on Grande's Graveyard talking about it. So many great quotes that he executed perfectly. He had such a wonderful energy in this movie. I agree wholeheartedly. I think he got $40 million with the percentage of the gross he received. That is wild money for that time. I've heard 60, which I'd love to know what adjusted to inflation would be now. Like 66 million now. In 19, like what would that? I would just love to know that number. I like Batman. I do too, and that's funny because it's one of his best friends, and Danny DeVito. And that was the same year they made Hoffa together, was 1992. So, I mean, it's funny. They both were affected in that world. They both worked Tim Burton. They both then worked with each other. And Hoffa was a movie that kind of opened. I mean, it opened, it had success, but again, a few good men kicked the shit out of it. And Batman Returns probably made a lot more money than Hoffa, too. So, this is what it is. Joker being in Batman Returns would have been awesome. Yeah, it's funny. For a character so iconic and a character they've done it to death at this point. They've done it to death. I mean, how many fucking Joker movies are we going to get? I know bring Barry Keoghan in. I don't want to see Barry Keoghan as the Joker. I want to see Mr. Freeze. Can we do Mr. Freeze done better? Can we do the Penguin again done better? Fuck. Like, the Joker's been overdone to this point to death. And it's like to the point now where you do wonder, maybe, what if they brought Nicholson back if he didn't die at the end of this movie, But I don't know. I don't think it would have worked. I thought Batman Returns worked more for Oswald Cobblepot. I thought that story, I don't know. I don't think the Joker works in that movie. And same thing with Heath Ledger. I think if Heath Ledger had not died, they would have had no choice but to bring him back for The Dark Knight Rises. You had no choice. And then you wouldn't have got the bad Bane. Oh, Batman. Hello, Batman. It is me, Bane. I'm going to kill you and break your back. You merely are born in the darkness. I adapt to it. I mean, come on. That shit sucks. And, like, Heath Ledger, they would have had to bring him back, and that would have been money. I would have loved to have seen the rematch, Heath Ledger again versus Bale and that whole Nolan world. That would have been really cool. Unfortunately, though, he met his demise at a really young age. Jack Nicholson is awesome in this movie. I wholeheartedly agree. If you watch the movie Dick Tracy, that movie has so many similarities to both Batman movies. Have the villain who kills the crime boss and it takes over his empire, and they both have Danny Elfman music. That is a great fucking point. This town needs an enema. I'm going to give it to him. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moon? That's right. I don't know why I always fuck up that line. That line it's a great line, but I don't know why I can't get it in my head. There will be many great roles in your list, and this is no exception. While the Burton movies were comic booky, there was a true dark edge to this Joker. Yes, that's a great point, and I wish I had mentioned that on my own, but I appreciate you pointing that out, and I agree wholeheartedly. This Joker was scary. Like the shit when you see his girlfriend and she has that fucking mask and she looks like just like a corpse basically. She just kind of lays over and you see that she was there's something so dark about that that's when he goes to kill Jack Powell. That just scared the shit out of me as a kid. I was like, what the fuck? Like that always got me. I always thought that was so terrifying and so well done. And the laugh when, he goes to get his face fixed and he's like, wait till they get a load of me. I just think that stuff is just so good, man. He made it scary, but he also, again, he made it funny too. The great actors, like we were saying all night long, he did a little bit of everything. He made me fear, he made me laugh, he entertained me. He made me think psychology-wise towards the end of the picture. Just really good. Best Joker ever, in my opinion, by such a sick gangster. Love that long-ass gun. Let's broaden our minds. Yes, absolutely. Jonathan Schwartz is in the house. Do you think he's the best Joker? I know a lot of people like Heath Ledger the most. I personally like Jack's the best. It depends, man. I would say, I would say Heath Ledger. I really would. I think it's hard, though. They were playing different versions of this character. This is very much the Cesar Romero Joker, but if he was a lot darker and evil and, more gangster ties, right? Heath Ledger wasn't playing that. That wasn't Heath Ledger was playing a much more real world version of that type of character that was super smart, that was 5 moves ahead of everybody else, that had all this wisdom, that had the whole origin of no name, no history, and he tells you all these stories. You want to hear about my scars, and you hear all these different stories as to what may have led him to become the Joker, what may have led him to be crazy. Was it the wife that he loved that didn't love him back? Was it the parents? Was it all these stories that he gives throughout the movie? We never know. It's entirely up to you. I love that version of the character. This is very much more. He killed Batman's parents. I never thought that had to be in there. Whatever. He's this gangster. It's just different. And then he's playing the Cesar Romero Joker pretty much the rest of the way with that dark Tim Burton edge to it. He's great. He's number 2. I would say it's him. And then, probably Phoenix at number 3. But again, Joaquin Phoenix, he's not playing the same Cesar Romero Joker. So it's very hard to compare them all. But I would say Ledger, Nicholson, and then I would say Phoenix, and then 50,000 feet of shit, and then fucking what's his name from fucking Suicide Squad, Jared Leto, who sucks. Joker number one. I like when he's in the museum, and it is said when he shoots Bob later in the movie. Sad when he shoots. Okay, the prequel Joker movie is The Shunning. LOL. Yeah. Let's see. The part where the newscasters can't wear makeup and they die in the air scared me. That's a great scene. The scene where the Joker is vandalizing the museum was used in an episode of the 60s series. That's right. That is absolutely right. I like when he's messing with Kim Basinger. He's creepy, but also funny in that scene. Yeah, which is a fine line. That's so hard to do. Honey, you'll never believe what happened to me today. It's great stuff, man. Anger management is great. Matt June checks in. Anger management, I don't know. I'm iffy on that one. Not the biggest. He is. Cesar Romero is underrated as Joker. I agree completely with that. I think Caesar's biggest problem, what people don't want to mention, is that it's just so old. I mean, that was in the 60s. Like, my dad was a kid. My dad had the fucking Batmobile. My dad was, stay tuned next week to see if Batman and Robin escape this fucking hot tea kettle from Catwoman. I'll tell you, I think Julie Newmar is the best Catwoman. I know everybody goes on about Pfeiffer, how hot Pfeiffer is. And then the people tell me Anne Hathaway, who I thought was the worst miscasting, possibly of that whole, well, maybe Maggie Gyllenhaal. But when it comes to Cesar Romero, that's the only thing really against him. He was great. He was electric in that role. And he really set the precedent for a Jack Nicholson to come in and be like, okay, I definitely see some of the Cesar Romero in the Nicholson one. I don't see any of the other guys taking anything from Caesar other than Nicholson. I think Nicholson was very smart to take a page from that book and then apply it to his own. That was very smart. We got Kubrick lover in the house. Kubrick, hey, Grande, what's going on, buddy? He stole my balloons. Why didn't somebody tell me he had one of those things? I've always liked that Allison was the inspiration of Harley Quinn. Mirror. Wow, we have a lot of comments. Let me shoot through these. I like all types of Batman. My favorite version of Joker is Hamill. Is in the okay? Fair enough. Heath up the level that Jack paved. Heath is the best, but Jack was born to play him. That's totally fair. I think that's a really good statement, without a doubt. The Joker for me is Heath Ledger and maybe Joaquin Phoenix too. Okay, but I'm not a Batman expert. Fair enough. Although my favorite live-action Joker is controversial, it's the one from Gotham because we got to see many different versions of the Joker played by one person. Okay, I've never seen that show, so I couldn't even tell you the actor's name. Grande, did you discuss the diner scene when he has the argument with the waitress about how he wanted to order his food in 5 easy pieces? Well, Kubrick lover, we're only at number 6, my friend. You'll have to get there, my friend. We'll have to get there. Batman is a 10, Returns is a 10.5. Okay, that's totally fair. Now I want you to hold the chicken between your knees. You haven't broken any rules, and I get what I want. Dark Knight Rises was bad. Tom Hardy sounded like Sean Connery. I had to look around. I thought Bane was in here. Oh, my God. Oh, Batman. Oh, you're merely adopted to the darkness. I was born in it. Oh, my God. That movie sucks. That movie, when I saw it in the theater, I didn't mind The Dark Knight Rises. Upon rewatch, that movie is aged like fucking milk. It's just so, oh my God. And Bane gets killed by a missile. And oh wow, let's not go there. Batman Begins is even worse. The only one of those 3 I like is The Dark Knight. The other 2 suck. I would like to see Deathstroke / Slade or Onomatopoeia, also a better version of Scarecrow. Dude, Scarecrow's in all 3 of those movies and is never even used. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Dude, we need a Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze needs to be done in like a serious fucking way. That's what I want to see as a fan of the character. I want to see Mr. Freeze. I didn't think what they did with the Riddler was very good in the newest movie, although I liked the newest movie. Give me Mr. Freeze. Like, please. You have some... Okay. Kubrick lover, we're going to get there. I promise. Batman has a big rogue of gallery. Yeah, exactly. They don't do that. They just bring back the Joker again and again and again. It's just enough. Did you discuss Easy Rider? Yes, I did. Cuckoo's Nest, not yet. We'll get there. Nicholson as well as Michael Douglas, who produced it. Okay, let's just go. Correction, Kubrick, Easy Rider so far. I don't count Phoenix as a Joker personally. I agree. Yeah, that should have just been called like Clown or something. Like, I don't know. Although Leto still had some good moments. Nah, I hate it. I thought he sucked. No way Michelle is the best, man. No, I would say no way. Give me fucking no goddamn way. Michelle Pfeiffer's not the best Catwoman. She's not. She's attractive, but there's nobody that beats my girl I forgot her fucking name, Julie Newmar. Nobody beats Julie Newmar. That motherfucker was born to play Catwoman. I like Batman Begins. I hate Batman. Batman Begins is the worst. I think that's the worst Batman movie. Gotham Joker was awesome. In addition to The Dark Knight, we really do. And Ginger Ninja checks in. Yo, Ginger Ninja, what's up, buddy? That is Batman 1989. We spent a long time on that one. Sorry, y'all. But it seems like you guys get very passionate in these discussions just like me. So that's really cool. When we bleed into the top 5 now, it was a little over an hour into the show. We'll move on to the next movie right here, which, of course, was the last Oscar Jack Nicholson won in the year 1997. Of course, he reconnects with James Brooks, who, of course, he was working with when he won his first supporting Oscar in 1983 with, Terms of Endearment, which was on number 10 at the list. This one sneaks in at the number 5 slot as we move to the top 5. And I'm telling you right now, this is as good as it gets. Yes, as good as it gets from 1997. Brief plot synopsis. A single mother and waitress, a misanthropic author, and a gay artist form an unlikely friendship after the artist is assaulted in robbery. Yes, as good as it gets. Now, this is one of the best roles he ever played, in my opinion, and hence why it goes to the number 5 slot. It's crazy to me that this was the last Oscar he ever won. He never won. I believe he was nominated for 1 or 2 more after this, and then that was it. But he's great in this movie, don't be mistaken. I always compare this to, because I saw the show first, and then I saw this movie. There's a show called Monk that I really like, and Monk is basically an OCD detective. He has an obsessive compulsive disorder, and he's this genius detective that is not good with people. He avoids the cracks of the sidewalks. He's not the most personable guy in the room, but he's the smartest guy in the room, and he can solve any mystery that you have. He plays a very similar character, Jack Nicholson, in this, but he's just more of an asshole, not a detective. And instead of a detective, he's like penis / author, and he has all these interesting ideas and occupations and stuff like that. He lives in this apartment building, and he, of course, encounters his neighbors who all hate him. One of them is played by Greg Kinnear, who's this gay artist character, and every now and again he has this run-in with his dog, and he at one point throws the dog down the laundry chute. He's a real piece of work, and every day he goes to this little diner where Holly Hunter works, and he basically treats her like shit when he orders his breakfast from her, but he likes the interaction. He likes talking to her. There's something about her that he kind of gravitates towards. And what I thought was brilliant about this entire movie, he's playing a man that's despicable. He's homophobic. He's racist. He's misogynistic. He doesn't have any friends. He's just so repugnant and unlikable, and just you hate every part of him. And Jack Nicholson was scared, as for a fact, that people weren't like the movie because he's such an asshole in it. He was like, dude, I think we should tone it back. Like, I'm too much of an asshole in this. And then the director was like, no, we got to go for it. Like, this is the character. And the idea of the whole movie is slowly but surely he starts to learn compassion. He's an OCD man who learns the joys of compassion and love and wonder in the world. And perfect example of that, the waitress that he really likes, played by Holly Hunter, her son is like terminally sick. He gets all these horrible, but they don't know what's wrong with him because he's a little kid. And he reaches out to make sure the kid's medical bills get paid. And then he sees actual real doctors that can actually maybe help him in his cause. And Holly Hunter doesn't know what to do about it. She's like, she goes to his door one night and she's like all upset. She's like, what do I owe this favor? Like, I'm never going to sleep with you. And he's like, looks so upset about it. He's like, I just want you to go to work tomorrow and give me eggs. Like, that's his obsessive compulsive. He wants her to take his order at this fucking diner, because he can't cope with the change. And that, like, he sucks with change. I thought that was so funny. There's a point where he has to take in the dog that he hates so much. I'm sorry, you're right, Helen Hunt. I said Holly Hunter. I'm sorry. The alliteration got me, you sons of bitches. Helen Hunt. I'm so sorry. You know what my favorite Helen Hunt movie is? Twister. Fucking Helen Hunt. I'm sorry. What the hell was I saying? He has to take care of the dog that he earlier in the film threw down this fucking laundry chute and garbage chute or whatever the fuck, and it doesn't give a shit about. And again, he learns to like the dog. He takes it around and becomes a companion to him. He learns to befriend his neighbor despite the fact that he is gay and then has this, he gets beat up with but it's funny, he gets beaten up by Skeet Ulrich and fucking Jamie Kennedy, some Scream alumni. And then fucking it's at one point in the diner, Mateo will appreciate this. There's two people talking to each other that he interrupts and he makes fun of for being Jewish. He says something about their nose and he says something very anti-Semitic. The people he's talking to is Lisa Edelson and Peter Jacobson from fucking House. It's Taub and Cuddy from House. Like years before House goes on the air, it's the two of them, and he insults them for being Jewish. And I was like, I was like, holy shit, that's fucking Cuddy and fucking Taub. I marked out. I know, but and Mateo is here. I know Mateo loves House, so he'll get I marked out when I first saw it. I was like, how the hell are they in this movie? Like so wild. And then you see, of course, the Scream alumni and Jamie Kennedy and Skeet Ulrich who kind of rip off Greg Kinnear. I don't know. I thought this movie was beautiful. I thought, again, James Brooks, just a pro, a really great writer. This was based on his novel. They adapt this to the big screen, and I thought they did a great job with this from top to bottom. I really like the slow, gradual turn for Jack Nicholson's character. It's not just overnight, and I'll go from this OCD asshole to this compassionate man. It takes the entire runtime to get to that. Finally, he's a little bit more tolerable, and then Helen Hunt decides, I'll give you a chance, type of thing. It's beautiful. They have some great scenes, and I thought the best one was when they go out to dinner. He and Helen Hunt go out to dinner. They go to the seafood place, and he doesn't bring this stuff to dress up, so he runs to this place to get a place to, an outfit to get dressed for. They sit down at the table, and she says, you need to start complimenting me right now, because he's being his normal jerk self, saying all these mean things. And he says to her, you make me want to be a better man. And then she sits down and goes, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. That's the greatest compliment I've ever gotten in my life. And it's a really nice moment where he can't help but be honest. He's brutally honest sometimes to a point of offense, but you see that he means what he's saying. And sometimes there's brutal lying, but there's also brutal honesty. And he just doesn't know the fine line between those two things. And I don't know. I thought it was a beautiful movie. I really liked his, like I said, slow, gradual. He's playing this asshole that's saying all these mean things. And then he finally gets to the end where it's like, I can see the errors of my ways. I see the way I am, obsessive compulsive. It's not right to hurt people's feelings. It's good to show, that I could feel compassion and I could get there. And I liked that. I thought it was just a perfect gradual destination to get to the end. And I thought Jack Nicholson just nailed it. He's mean, but he is, of course, again, it's Jack Nicholson. There's a charm to it. What he says is horrible. I don't think any of it would fly today. It would be really, really bad today. But for 1997, yeah, they gave him the Academy Award for Best Actor, and rightfully so. He's absolute money in this. He's one of his best performances for me. Let's see what y'all have to say. I think we were here. Love Batman 89. Absolutely. As good as it gets. Thank you. Happy B-Day for the other day, mate. Oh, dude, Kal-El, happy belated, my friend. Kind of mad to me. I like As Good as It Gets a lot. I think it's a great movie. Haven't seen it in ages. Highly recommend a rewatch. I don't like how rude to Greg Kinnear. Yeah, he's that's the thing. And he was really scared at the time that people would not like the movie because of it. It's like, I get it. Do I agree that it's definitely harsh. There's no doubt. But I think also it's like, it's a movie. He's playing a character in a movie. I get it. It's, if it was real life, fuck him. But in the movie, I think he did a good job at making you just go, oh, this guy's deplorable. But again, he slowly turns the corner. And I thought that was the beauty of the movie. Tony Shalhoub's Monk. Love Tony Shalhoub's Monk. That's a fun show. Birthday in the Graveyard. Happy birthday, Kal-El. Nicholson is a piece of work. Yes, he is. Helen Hunt, not Holly Hunter. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I've confused those two. Maybe Grande, you should have the film blog online. Not saying you should, don't feel obligated to do that. I mean, this is really my film blog, really. I love talking with you guys every week. Mernsey said it best to me. He said, he joined a movie club. And he's like, oh, I'm really excited. We're watching this movie for a movie club. I'm so excited. And I was like, I wish they'd have one of those by me. And then he goes, dude, you have one. You host one every week. Grande's Graveyard is movie club. And I was like, that's a fucking good way to put it. Yeah, I never looked at it that way, but he opened my eyes to see that. I was like, it totally is. This is a movie club. So welcome to the movie club, y'all. I hope you guys have watched your Jack Nicholson cinema. A brother of a certain age is in the Heezy. What's going on, a brother of a certain age? Hope all is well with you. He deserves the Oscars because he carries this movie alone on his shoulders. The rest of the cast is weak for me. Yeah, they could have got somebody better than Greg Kinnear. That's true. I think they wanted Nathan Lane, and Nathan Lane didn't want to do it. Nathan Lane would have been way better than Greg Kinnear. I don't know. I think Holly Hunter's good at it. I don't know. Fucking Holly, I keep saying it. Helen Hunt. You know, but turning into the graveyard and we're talking about as good as it gets. Pretty sure that's a first. Yeah, that's a fucking curveball, Alpha. Alpha Romero's in the house. He will be here next week only on the graveyard as we dive into the horror roundtable number 10. That happens to be my favorite number. Got to see this one too. I think it's really good. Hey, all, what's up, Grande? Good to see as good as it gets on your list. I'll have to catch up with the first part of the stream. Dude, right in suit, the guy that'll be on the following week, Fever Dreamland Theater and me, will be talking all things Twilight Zone Season 2, Part 2, as we close out the year of 2024 that was Grande's Graveyard. So, yeah, no, I totally am excited to work with both of you guys. Always good. Okay, fair enough, Grande. No big deal. Yeah, no, hey, no, I appreciate. I know you once in the past said that I should be a film teacher. I thought that was pretty funny. So, dude, Kubrick, I appreciate that, man. Definitely a movie club, right? It kind of is. It kind of is. Happy birthday, Kal-El. Absolutely. Happy belated. Good brother Tom checks in. Hey, John, in the chat. The first rule of movie club is there is no movie club. Don't talk about movie club now. We ain't gonna talk about it. We just go move on. The second rule is there is no blog. You son of a bitches. There just is no blog. Ginger, appreciate that, brother. Film teacher. Did I? Oh, gee, thanks. I'm so glad that you remember saying it. Remember that? The funniest thing, being a Kubrick lover, I thought he lived in Alaska. I was like, how's Alaska? He's like, motherfucker, I don't live in Alaska. I was like, who told me that? Like, I totally didn't just make up that this guy lived in Alaska. But sure enough, I probably did. Emergency Movie Man says this is the best movie club to be in. Dude, thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot. You're not pretentious enough to be a film teacher. Well, thank you. I think these people in the chat, they're just shallow and pedantic. No, I mean, I was floored when he said that. Thank you, Grande, and also for the B-Day wishes. Yeah, everybody wish Kal-El a happy B-Day, belated, man. You do live in Alaska. I know you're fucking kidding, but this fucking guy, I was going to say, I know for a fact that somebody told me that at some point. I was like, he must be cold up there. Like, and then they was like, no, I don't live in Alaska. What are you talking about? I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. But that's the number 5 movie. Let's move on to number 4, which this could be number 1. Like the next 4, you can make a case for any of these 4 being number 1. That's how good these movies are that we're going to talk about here next. And of course, the first one that celebrated its 50th anniversary this year, of course, from a guy that I don't like as a human being, but he was a really good filmmaker, whether it be Repulsion and Rosemary's Baby in the horror genre. But this is his film from 1974 starring the legendary Jack Nicholson. I'm talking about Chinatown. Chinatown from 1974. As this loads in for some reason really late, and we have a brief plot synopsis. A private detective hired to expose an adulterer in the 1930s Los Angeles finds himself caught up in a web of deceit, corruption, and murder. Yes, murder. There's murder, by God. Get your fucking magnifying glasses out because someone has been murdered. Wow. I mean, going back to rewatch this, I'd only seen this once before. This is one of the best fucking movies ever. This is such a great movie. The neo-noir aspect of it, the look, the scope of this movie, it looks a lot like another piece of shit, Francis Ford Coppola. It looks a lot like a cinema scope that he would use. Like, I always felt like this movie looked a lot stylistically as like similar to The Godfather. Just visually, that scope of this movie is fucking breathtaking. It really is. The scene selection, second unit, all that stuff. I mean, this is one of the most gorgeous shot films I've ever seen. It's just great from that aspect. And then, of course, you have one of the great Hollywood actors of all time, Jack Nicholson, as the lead. And he's literally in every scene in this movie. There's not one scene that does not include Jack Nicholson. That's called being the lead of your movie. He is in every fucking scene of this movie. And it's just wild. And I always thought that this movie had such an interesting range of his character, right? He's this private investigator who, at the beginning of the film, he's very happy-go-lucky, is very, the world is his. He's telling jokes and stuff like that. And then it kind of gets into more serious territory where somebody gets murdered that he was, investigating and that he wants to get to the bottom of it. And it's all these twists and turns along the way that you get. Of course, you're going to be nosy. you get your nose cut. He gets his nose cut by Roman Polanski, who plays the guy that cuts his nose, which I always thought was kind of a fun cameo. The acting in this movie, I think, is great all around. I know some people may criticize it, but I think some of the acting in this is absolutely great. Faye Dunaway, I thought, did a great job in this movie. Of course, as somebody mentioned before, John Huston is in this movie. He shares a couple of scenes with Jack Nicholson as Faye Dunaway's father. Of course, funny enough, this was around a time where he started to date John Huston's daughter, Angelica Huston. And, they would go on to date for a really long time. So, and it's funny because they're talking in the scenes about my daughter in the movie, Faye Dunaway. We're talking about that, and then slowly in real life, he was dating his daughter. I thought that was like so funny. I'm like, wow, how meta is this? They might as well have just got Angelica Huston to play the part. Like it's just that meta. But from top to bottom, this is a gorgeously made movie. Jack Nicholson is so good at this. Again, dialing it back. I think this is a movie where he's very reserved. Other than like the first 20 minutes, he reserves himself so much, dialing it down to like 5 to fit this world that Polanski kind of drops us into, this Chinatown, if you will. Just great. It's just fucking outstanding how good this movie flows and the interesting nature of the mystery and the neo-noir elements that felt so much like yesteryear films from the 1930s or 40s. It just totally almost felt like they transported James Cagney to play this part, and Jack Nicholson just embodied him. I always saw a lot of James Cagney in Nicholson. Like, to me, our era's James Cagney was Jack Nicholson. That's those two guys just brought it every time, and that charm. But it was good to see him dial it back here. There's some iconic scenes. There's a great scene where, what are you here investigating? And he tells him, he's like, I'm not here investigating your sister. He turns around, just kicks the guy in the fucking balls. I always thought that was fucking hysterical. There's the great scene towards the end where, who is she? Who is she? She's my sister. Smack, smack. She's my daughter. Smack, smack. She's my sister and my daughter. And he just starts smacking the shit out of her. And for what I've been told or what I've read, I should say, she actually wanted to be slapped for real because she couldn't get into the character. Like, she asked him, she's like, slap me for real. And he didn't want to do it. He's like, I'm not going to slap you for real. She's like, slap me for real. You have to do it. Like, I'm not getting the performance that I want out. You've got to hit me. And so he did. And you get a really raw, organic moment between those two, and she breaks down and admits, my father raped me, so my sister is my daughter. And I remember when I first saw this movie, I was like, holy shit, like, I didn't see it going there. 1974, holy shit. But I mean, it makes sense. Roman Polanski was a fucked up guy, and we all know the history of Roman Polanski. I don't want to get too far into it, but, there's no tiptoeing around this or walking on eggshells around this, whatever you want to say. He was found with an underage girl in the house of Jack Nicholson. That was where they were found, was in Jack Nicholson's house. Was Jack Nicholson aware this was going on with an underage woman? I'd like to think not. But at the same time, I'd like to think, I would like to think that maybe he was no angel either, which really sucks. I don't want that to be the case. I don't know if it was the case. I wasn't there. But I put myself in those shoes. If my buddy was in my house with a girl, whether, no matter what, I feel like I know about it. So it's very sketch, and it's a shame because, again, Roman Polanski made so many fucking great movies, but it's just, there's a turn. It's like he was a piece of shit human being. There's no doubt. Like, he just, I don't know. It really does sour me. But there's one thing that I can't say is sour, and it's the movie. I mean, the movie is just aged like wine. I think it's still a fucking masterpiece. Like, every scene. I mean, Jack Nicholson's just electric in this. I think he's so good. Again, this is probably the most under the top you're ever going to see Jack Nicholson in a movie. Like, he's very under the top. He plays it back, but I thought he was just really good and solid and strong as the lead of this. Hardly any laughs in this. He really just delivers a very stoic performance. And that's a big reason why I've always liked Chinatown. And I felt like it had to make this list because he's just so, it's a different role for him. It's just a little bit different than the normal role that Jack Nicholson would play. They could probably have gotten other people to do this role, somebody else. But I thought that this was a movie that Jack Nicholson kind of had to prove that he could do it, prove that he had it in him. And that's a big reason why I like this movie. That's a big reason why I gravitate towards Chinatown. But let's see what you all have to say. I think we were here. Did you know that the Chinatown spoof Who Framed Roger Rabbit was based on the third Chinatown movie, which was never released? That was going to be Jake investigating the building of a highway. I did not know that. That is so crazy. Fever Dreamland Trench, thank you all. Polanski made a lot of great films. Yes, he did. I think Nicholson directed the sequel to Chinatown. I think it was called Two Jakes or Three Jakes. I think it's called Two Jakes. You're right. So you recommend this movie then? Ginger Ninja, I would say so. I don't recommend, reading too much about the filmmaker. The end is great and gross, the surprise for everyone, but everyday life for Polanski. That's a really good way to put it. We haven't talked enough Polanski, you and me, Mateo. We got to talk more Polanski. Like, obviously, other than the whole, his past, his shady ass past. Long story short, I don't think he's the greatest guy, but he did make some good movies. But I don't know, Mateo and I have never really talked much Polanski. We got to change that. Robert Towne, one of the great screenwriters, wrote the screenplay. We read that for screenwriting class, said to be one of the great screenplays. Dude, it is. It's a great, overall, this is a great movie, man. Like, this is such a great, fantastic movie from top to bottom. Polanski is the guy who cuts Nicholson's nose. That's right. Did you know the plot involving the feud over the water in Los Angeles was based on a real-life event that happened? I didn't know that either. Grant, I got the vinegar syndrome of the Tenet. Haven't got to it yet, but it looks amazing. Awesome. Tenet by Polanski. I've been meaning to buy the Criterion of Repulsion. I got to give that movie another shot. That movie fucked me up so much, I've had a hard time ever revisiting it. That's how effective Repulsion is. The line, she's my sister and my daughter, was a great line because you get the reveal of who the character of Catherine is. It is, and it's, dude, the way she's crying when she says it, he's almost crying because he didn't want to be hitting her for real, but that's what it took to get out of the performance. I mean, that's really great stuff. And to me, what was really interesting, too, was reading a behind-the-scenes story of this movie. I also will say this, he should have won the Oscar for this. You are got to be kidding me. He didn't win an Oscar for this. I don't even know what beat him in this year, but whatever it was not as good. Like, he should have won for this. Like, I know the way he feels about The Last Detail, that he should have won for that. I feel that way even stronger than he does, that he should have won it for this. He should have won an Oscar for this. There's no fucking, how the fuck, oh my God. Maybe we will look it up because it's just mad. We'll look it up. Who the hell beat him for the Oscar for this year? Because that's fucking robbery to me that he didn't win an Oscar for this. I mean, robbery. It's not even a debate. Let's see. Actress in a leading role, Academy Awards, 1975. Let's see who he lost to. Art Carney? Are you fucking kidding me? I like Art Carney, but no. Albert Finney was up, Dustin Hoffman, and Al Pacino for The Godfather 2. I love all those guys, but fuck no. Get the fuck out of here. Jack Nicholson should have won. That's crazy. Fucking give the one for Terms of Endearment back and take this one. Get the fuck out of here. Did you know that years ago, Jack Nicholson found out that his supposed sister was actually his mother and that his supposed mother was really his grandmother? What the fuck? No, I didn't know that at all. I know that Jack Nicholson did not care for the ending of this film. He always felt that it was a bad ending. Like he always said, he's like, man, that was a great movie up until the end. And, he didn't like it. But the thing I was going to say, the story, apparently this was around the time where Jack Nicholson was so hardcore to Lakers basketball. At one point, Roman Polanski apparently broke his television on set. And he got that television from making a really weird appearance in a Henry Jaglom film called A Safe Place. And A Safe Place was one of the weirdest art films of the early 1970s. Very experimental. Very weird. It looks as visually like There's Always Vanilla. It's very similar looking, editing, weird film. Jack Nicholson makes an appearance in that movie where he has no dialogue. He makes out with Tuesday Weld for about 5 minutes. He appears on a roof and then they make out. He did that scene to get that TV. And then Roman Polanski, a few years later on the set of this movie, smashed it in front of him and was like, I need you in character, motherfucker. Stop watching the Lakers. So that's a whole thing that happened on the set of this movie that I thought was really fun in the preparation of show prep here. 1970s had a lot of twisted movies like Ken Russell's The Devils or The Exorcist in 73 or Sallow, a.k.a. 120 Days of Sodom in 75. Sure, the 70s is where it all – I think that's the best decade for film. I thought if you're asking overall – I don't know if I'm a huge Faye Dunaway fan overall, but in this movie, I thought she did a good job. I know, she even criticized her own performance at times. I thought she was great. I don't know. I don't have a negative thing to say about Chinatown. Chinatown is a perfect movie. I'm sorry. Like these top four, I think are all perfect movies. And of course, Ken Russell had directed the movie Tommy, which also had Jack Nicholson. Maybe Taxi Driver is sort of twisted too. Sure, absolutely. I separate art from the artist, but there's even some films. Yeah, no, like that one especially. You know, shit, I don't know if I want to get into any of that. If you know, you know, and if you know, you probably wish you didn't. I think that's fair to say. That whole movie, and Victor Salva will burn in hell for the rest of it. When he does die, his fat fucking ass. And trust me, he's a piece of shit. He will do his time in hell because he didn't do his time in prison. He didn't do enough time. I try to separate the directors, actors, etc. For the movies they created. Not always easy to do though. I could don't get me wrong. I could do that with Polanski. There's no doubt he's made a lot of great movies. I just can't. This particular movie, it makes sense. Like Mateo, I think basically what Mateo was saying, it's like, the ending of the movie. It's like it all makes sense if you like Polanski. It's like wild to you, me, and the next person, but to Roman Polanski, it's like that's I think what Mateo was getting at, and I think he's spot on. Polanski was in the Holocaust, and only his father and him survived, but the rest of his family were killed by the Nazis. That's right. Dude, Repulsion is great. It is really, really, really great. Great stuff. Where the hands come out of the wall. Oh, dude, totally. That movie made me feel bad to be a man. That's how fucking good Repulsion is. Like, Catherine Deneuve, the black and white nature, her actual fucking repulsion, and the scenes in the sink of washing her hands made me physically fucking sick. Like, Repulsion is one of those few movies that actually have made me like gag and want to throw up. And it's not even a disgusting film. It's all about the repulsion of these sick fucks out there. That's the whole point, and it's just so effective, man. And it blows my mind that he goes on to do what he goes on to do. If you watch that movie, you would think, oh my God, this guy doesn't like, toxic male people. And then, of course, go figure. And then Polanski's wife was killed by the Manson family with his pregnant child. That's right. Sharon Tate, 8.5 months pregnant, gets killed. He mentioned right there. JP's in the house. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. A Few Good Men dropped at the number 8 slot. So if you want to throw it back at the rewind, feel free, my friend. But yes, that one was on the list. I want the truth, Grotty. Did you order the code red? No, you son of a bitch. I ordered the regular do, you son of a bitch. Oh, man. Always a good hit there. Hey, Nicholson lost to Norton. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Same Place was pretty bad. Yes, it fucking was. I agree. That's a horrible movie. But when I first watched that, because I'm like, Orson Welles, Tuesday Weld, beautiful. Holy shit, Tuesday Weld was gorgeous. And then out of nowhere, I'm watching, I'm like, fucking Jack Nicholson. Like, I remember the first time I watched that movie, I'm like falling asleep. And then I was like, what? And I popped off I was like, Jack, fucking Jack. And then he had no lines. I was like, you son of a bitch. And then, of course, to learn that he just did it for a TV set. I was like, that is so fucking him. Like, that's so awesome. It went as a double feature with a better film called The Last Picture Show. Yes, in the Criterion Collection. That's right. I think the 70s is a pretty good decade for film, too. I don't know about Clown House. All right, we can gloss over it. Victor Salva, who most people are going to know for making the Jeepers Creepers movies, was a pedophile. He was a pedophile that got caught. Clown House, it stars a little boy. He filmed himself making the boy do sexual acts on it. He filmed it. The police had it in evidence. And I believe he only did 18 months in prison. He did 18 months in prison. And because he's buddies with Francis Ford Coppola, he got out of fucking prison. Francis Ford Coppola said, don't you worry about it. We'll get you back in the director's chair. And that's a big reason why I don't like Francis Ford Coppola. If that's your guy, fuck you. That's fucked up. Absolute despicable human being. And I think that he never should have worked again. And he should have done a lot more than 18 months for video proven evidence of what he fucking did. And the fact that he only did a year and a half where Wesley Snipes did more for fucking taxes. You tell me what's fucked up and what's right and what's wrong. Come on. The line, forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown. Oh, dude, yes, that's the last line of the movie. It's a great line. Yes, he did. Question on Polanski. Can you divide the pro from the human being? Like Benoit does his actions, obscure things done in professional life, always divide. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think you're no. I don't think you're wrong at all. Okay, if you want to talk Benoit, that's a completely different animal to me. Like Benoit was one of the best technical wrestlers alive when he was wrestling. I mean, the matches he had with Kurt, the matches he had with Brock, the matches he had with Edge and Eddie Guerrero and all these guys. I mean, and then to get the moment at Madison Square Garden where Triple H tapped out for him. I mean, that's how much Benoit, meant to them. And that he was so respected. Could he talk? No, he was a terrible promo. I think if he was alive and not CTE'd today, Chris Benoit would tell you himself, I was never a good fucking promo. He couldn't do it. He just wasn't. But as far as exciting to watch in the ring, performer, technical wrestling ability, I mean, maybe 5 wrestlers better than Chris Benoit. I don't think he can. I mean, he was just great. I think what happened in that house was not a result of steroids. I know people have said it maybe had been alcohol. Listen, I think he had CTE. When they did his brain scan, when Chris Nowinski, they looked at his brain, they saw that he had the brain of an 80-year-old Alzheimer's patient. And that is probably why he went ahead and just snapped one day, killed his wife and son, and then hung himself in his home gym. I mean, that's probably why that happened. I think it's due to CTE. In Polanski's case, this was free will, right? I mean, he was with a 13-year-old girl who posed nude for him. Then he went to Jack Nicholson's house, started to fuck her, and then got caught by the police. I mean, there's no CTE you could blame. There's no, okay, was this guy one of the best filmmakers ever? Absolutely. There's Rosemary's Baby, Repulsion, and this alone, if he had never made any other movies, are some of the best movies ever made. I mean, he was great. And those are all 3 different, actually, no, I think Repulsion and Rosemary's Baby were both the 60s, but still, great filmmaker. One of the best. Probably a top 10 of all time. Probably. I mean, objectively, I don't know if he'd be on my subjective list, but objectively, he was one of the best filmmakers ever. I can separate it. I don't think very highly of the guy, if that doesn't, like Jeepers Creepers is a good movie. I like Jeepers Creepers, but to me, it's like what he did is disgusting. It's a disgrace, I don't think you're wrong at all. I'm totally hear your point. And there have been guys, that their films I like, and, it's something similar to this situation. So I don't think you're wrong at all. I think, yeah, can you separate the art from the artist? Absolutely. I think it does depend on the case of the person and what you think, I think it all comes down to the individual. Bronson, Right Wolf, BWW, BWW, BWW. How's the Buffalo Wild Wings in this motherfucker? Jack Nicholson won his 3rd Academy Award win. Robin Williams won his Academy Award for Good Will Hunting. Jack said to Robin, Robin, now I've got one for every decade. That's right. And we just covered As Good as It Gets, which he did win 1997. Of course, Robin wins for Good Will Hunting in the same year. So that was your best actor and best supporting actor that year in the Oscars was Jack Nicholson and Robin Williams, which is so cool. The first ever actor spotlight I did was on Robin Williams because he's my favorite actor of all time. Like I said, he made me laugh and cry, and everything in between. The guy's great. Sallow made me gag. Yes, fascist poop eating is definitely some sick shit. Yes, Brian, I like Jeepers Creepers, but I won't watch Clown House like Roddy said. If you know, you know. Yeah. Repulsion feels like it was a part of an apartment trilogy because you also had Rosemary's Baby and The Tenant. That is so true. You feel the grime in that apartment. You feel the uncomfort. It's just a disturbing film. I'm sending you, oh God, don't even joke. Safe Place is Forgettable. Yes, it is. Coppola got him out of prison. No, so he served 18 months, and Coppola made sure he had a job coming out of prison because they were buddies. So that's why. Now, he didn't get him. He didn't just pay somebody and they got him out of prison. He was sentenced to only 18 months, which is nuts. He ruined someone's life forever. Filmed it. He had the proof, and 18 months. I don't know. It's disgusting. You can actively see the fear on a kid's face as the movie is going on. I can't bear to watch that. Yes, I can't either. That's just, it's too far for me. I would love to know your thoughts on the 2 Jakes. I've actually not seen that, so I can't really give you my fair thoughts, but I will totally make a conscious effort in the future. Copies of Clown House, I guess, should be headed for the dump. I like Benoit as a wrestler, but I'm like Heyman, great wrestler, but only one person in that house had a choice, so fuck him. But I don't know. I know what you're talking about, that Paul Heyman interview where he says, he had the choice, he had the option. I don't think he was in his right mind. I think that's where the CTE stuff comes in. You hear it a lot with football players, right? And people laugh, oh, wrestlers having CTE, that's a joke. all right, you think pro wrestling is a joke? Do you think pro football is a joke? Because I don't think a lot of people do. And then look at, remember the guy a few years ago? He's on the Eagles. He drove to the practice and after killing, I think his girlfriend or something, that blew his head off in the parking lot of the practice facility. You telling me that guy was in his right mind when he did what he did? I mean, if they could have examined his brain, probably had CT. It happened to a lot of football players. Look at Mike Webster. I think he was on the Chiefs. I forget the player's name, but another guy, the Chiefs, did the same exact thing. Just rolled up to the practice squad, killed himself. These are guys that I do believe were suffering for a brain injury, and I don't think you have a choice in that. I don't think he was in his right mind. I think when he came to his senses, whatever senses he had left, I think that's when the guilt kicked in, and that's when he did what he did. He sent weird text messages let my dogs out of the garage. He left the dogs perfectly fine, so there was some sense there, but I really do believe it was CTE that killed him and his family. I don't know if he had a choice in the matter. I get what Heyman's saying, but I don't know. I think Polanski had sex with her. I do too. The girl forgave him when she became an adult, but that doesn't excuse him for doing that. Exactly, I agree. I didn't like Jack Nicholson in Anger Management. I'm not big on that movie either. Him and Adam Sandler have no chemistry. Have you seen How Do You Know? We talked about that. That was his last movie. A little bit underwhelming. Did Nicholson do Jack and Jill? That was Al Pacino. Al Pacino, Cappuccino. Agree, Trench, fuck Benoit. Okay. Yes, CT played a part, but there were still things that showed he knew what he was doing. So fuck the guy, fuck the man, enjoy the wrestler, in my opinion. That's fine. Listen, I can't argue that. I really can't argue that. Hollywood was full of perverts and sex pests. Kubrick tried to tell us that with eyes wide shut. Yes, he did. Okay, Grande. Yeah, Missy, I totally separate his rig work from him like a character in a movie separate from the actor. Sorry, John, sidetrack conversation. So sorry. Don't be sorry at all. I love talking with you guys. Please. I talk to you guys all night. This is like I said, this is the book club here. So we're just on a different chapter. I'm sure you know this by now. Shelley Duvall's worked Robin Williams, Jack Nicholson the same year. That's right. Those two movies came out the same year. Terry is in the house. Holy shit. Now it's a party. Terry McGuana. Thumbs way up. Hell yeah. Thumbs up. T, always good to see you, man. It's a tragedy, though. He would have been one of the greatest of all time. 3 precious lives would still be on this earth. Dude, yeah, it's really sad. It's really, really sad. I don't know. I'm no expert, but it seems like he had CT. He'd kill himself after the fact, just saying. Robin Williams was played the lead character in The Shining. Oh, my God. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine fucking Robin Williams in that role? That would have been hysterical. Carnal knowledge is, I actually, let me retract my statement there. He was scary as shit in 1 hour photo. So maybe he would have been great. I don't know. Maybe not at that time, though. 1980 Robin Williams playing the Jack Torrance character. That would have been fucking weird. I can't even see that. Colonel Knowledge is one of my favorite Nicholson performances, and it kind of created the Jack the Lad image. That one did not make the list, but thank you for sharing that. Snipes was evading taxes on properties where a cult he was funding was doing similar abuses. Okay, I didn't know that. I did not know that part. But still, I think what Salva did was, worthy of more of a sentence that he got. Typo bet if he had CT, he wouldn't kill himself after the fact. Okay, fair enough. Hey, listen, fair enough. I'm just giving you my 2 cents, respectively. Speaking of Shining, Kubrick's favorite movie was Eraserhead. That is absolutely right. He was a big fan of course, David Lynch. But let's move on. Sorry, we did get a little sidetracked, but this is the fun of this show. Sometimes we go down some different avenues here. As we move on to the top 3, and to me, how before I was saying Easy Rider was the movie that got him noticed, that made people go, that guy. That was a movie where he played the side role. But to me, the movie that made him a movie star and a guy that was a reliable lead for years and years and years to come was a movie that came out in 1970, a movie directed by the legendary Bob Raffleson. I'm talking about this movie from 1970. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about 5 Easy Pieces. Yes, 5 Easy Pieces from 1970. Brief plot synopsis. A dropout from upper-class America picks up work along the way on oil rigs when his life isn't spent in squalid succession of bars, motel, and other points of interest. Yes, 5 Easy Pieces. Wow. I mean, I had seen this movie before, and I remember I saw it at too young of an age. I liked it, but I didn't get it. I didn't fully understand the movie when I was of a young age, and that's to be understood. I mean, this is not a movie you show a kid. This is not a movie for kids, really. This is a movie for someone who's around this age, which at the time of filming this, he would have been early 30s. Um, he's great in this. He's so good in this movie. And this is a different type of movie because it's really, it has elements of coming of age, it has elements of just an overall drama. But to me, this entire movie is really about the horrors of depression and the horrors of having no direction in the world, the horrors of unhappiness, the horrors of wanting all of these things, but never being able to achieve a modicum of these things. That's what Five Easy Pieces is. We follow Jack Nicholson as he plays this kind of, at first it starts out he's bowling, he's having fun, he's having drinks with the buddies, he's joking in the the oil rig yard. He seems like just an everyday average Joe. He's dating Karen Black's character, who everyone knows how much I love Karen Black. If you don't believe me, go back and watch last week's show when I talked about burnt offerings and the haunted house special. I love Karen Black. She's great. And she's great at this. She's great in Easy Rider. It's so funny that, she was a part of two of his biggest movies, his biggest roles, and this one putting him on the map for being a lead actor. And she plays his girlfriend. He's kind of annoyed by her. He cheats on her. He doesn't really value her. She loves him with all her heart, but he really kind of takes her for granted. And then, of course, he visits his sister one day, and she tells him, "Hey, listen, our dad, he's critical. He had a stroke. He can't talk anymore. He doesn't know who we are anymore. It's really bad. You need to come. You need to come down for, however much time and talk with him." And this is really a movie about going home. It's a movie about, unhappiness. Again, like I said before, it's really this guy that's just depressed in his everyday life. And it's his journey home to meet his father that he has all these regrets to tell. You get the title from Five Easy Pieces, of course. Everyone in the family, they work on music. They're like pianists, if you will, really talented. He does fall for one of the people there that is being trained by, his sister there. I think the actress's name, forgive me, I think it's, what the hell was her name? I can't think of the actress's name off the top of my head that he falls for, but he falls for one of these women there, and he like has sex with her at a point, and he's really trying to, prove himself to her. And she's just like, "I can't go for you, not because I don't like you or could love you, but you don't love yourself. You don't love anything at all. You're just a miserable person." And that, I always thought her lecture of him in that scene was so brilliantly done, because it's in that moment where he realizes that I am miserable in my life. I may go from girl to girl. I may try to find happiness here or there. I may go from job to job. And that sometimes is what life is, the feeling that, do I fit in anywhere? The feeling is, will anyone ever love me? Will anyone ever think of me and appreciate me for the way I am? And can I appreciate the world for the things that it has to offer, instead of just being this miserable guy that has these regrets? And I love, to me, the biggest strong point of the film is the finale where he meets his dad and breaks down and crying. And I know that Jack Nicholson didn't want to do it. Oh, it's cliche. I don't want to cry. And the director said, "Listen, you do it, and we're not going to look." And of course, the entire crew, fabled-wise, they turned their backs to him as he spiels to the father at the end, and he breaks down crying about his regrets and, what he wishes he had done different in his life. And you get the coldest ending probably in cinema's history, where he and Karen Black are headed back. They stop at this gas station, and he fucking decides, "Hey, I'm miserable in this life. I'm just going to run away. I'm this cold-hearted, miserable guy, and it's probably never going to change. So why don't I get on the truck and head up north to Alaska?" And that's basically what he does. He gets in the truck, and the movie just starts rolling credits. It's all about the horrors of depression, loneliness, and to see someone like Jack Nicholson, who's so full of energy and full of life and charm. And you do have the diner scene of the, but that's not what I want. How about you're not breaking any rules? I want you to put the fucking chicken between your knees. I mean, great. I mean, it's just great stuff. That stuff's funny. But for someone like him to dial it down to probably the lowest volume he ever did in this movie, and to really just play this really sad, troubled human being that I think a lot of people could see a part of himself in. Maybe not the whole character, but if I've ever felt down, if I've ever felt low in myself, if I've ever felt, that I couldn't love something or whatever, like, there's a part of him where you could agree, go, damn, I've been there, and then like the moments of fun, this will pass. This too will pass. That kind of feeling. I think it's really, really strong. It's like a quintessential movie of the 1970s for me. It's like distinctly 70s, and it's distinctly Jack Nicholson proving that he could be the real big lead of a movie, and his career just skyrocketed from here. This was the movie where it was like, okay, this guy could go. And I think that's one big reason why this has to be at number 3. It's just such an important, vital role in his career. He's just great. I think he's absolutely great in this movie. Let's see what y'all have to say, though. Gotta love The Last Detail. That was on the list. That's at number 7, I believe. That was the first leading role to get a spot on the list. Cuckoo's Nest, Witches of Eastwick is probably my first movie that I saw of his. Oh, that's awesome. Grande, I want you to put the chicken between your knees, and you haven't broken any rules. And he just destroys the diner. I love that. Grande, you have a toaster of some kind and some bread? Yes. Let's see. He comes from an affluent family, I think. Rich snobs. Yeah, they're all like Five Easy Pieces features a young Sally Struthers, who later became known as playing the daughter for the bigot character Archie Bunker on the series All in the Family. And then, of course, who other than Meathead would go on to direct Jack Nicholson and, of course, A Few Good Men and The Bucket List. So, funny full circle there. That's what I like about 70s films, depressing, slow burn. Yeah, it is. This is the depressing, slow burn 1970s film. Not much happens in this movie. You will feel like shit when this movie ends. But I think that's the point. And I think that's why this movie, all these years later, has carried the weight that it has. It's because Jack Nicholson has that range. And it was really, when I first saw the movie, I was like, wow. I didn't think he could go there. So it was really an eye-opener for me. Candice Bergen. It might be, I forget the actress's name off the top of my head. I'm sorry. Let's see. That's cool scene where he plays where he jumps on the back of the flatbed truck. Yes, and then the truck goes off the exit. He's like, wait, the truck is leaving. Good picks and thanks. Yay, Karen Black. Thanks for your love and support of her. Huge Karen Black fan. Bob Rafelson, the director of Five Easy Pieces, says everybody knows the diner scene, even if they don't know the film. But it's so true. It's just that is totally the case. That scene is almost more famous than the movie now. Yeah, man. But I will say, I promise you, you will not be happy. Like, if you want to watch a movie that make you happy, The Last Detail. If you want a movie that make you feel like shit, fucking Five Easy Pieces. Random thought: do you think Hugh Jackman channeled a little Jack Nicholson in the first X-Men movie? Ooh, that is a random thought, but I've never really thought about it that way, James. I'm one of those people. If you tell me something like that, I'd have to just go watch the X-Men movie now with that in my head. And maybe I could see what you're talking about. I will say this: I've never watched the X-Men movie and went Jack Nicholson, Hugh Jackman. Like I see I won't lie to you and say that. But the next time I watch the X-Men movie, buddy, I am sure I'm going to be thinking of that. Same thing with everyone that says Blair Witch Project. Oh, Mike and Josh were just fucking with Heather. I never even thought that and then I was like, I'm going to rewatch it thinking that. And I remember being like, I still don't see it. So I don't know, but it is what it is. Five Easy Pieces, one of the great Jack Nicholson performances in movies of all time. Well deserving of being on this list, and a movie that just had to make it. But coming up next, though, again, one of his most famous movies, a movie that he was not nominated for an Academy Award for, which does blow my mind, even though I know at the time the movie was very mixed. A lot of critics didn't like it. The author famously did not like his adaptation, of course, and I'm talking about director Stanley Kubrick. And this being a horror channel, I mean, the movie that introduced me to Jack Nicholson and to be one of the all-time great American horror films and just films in general. I'm talking about a movie from 1980. I apologize. I'm talking about Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Yes, The Shining. Brief plot synopsis. A family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter where a sinister presence influences the father into violence. At the same time, his psychic son sees horrifying forebodings from both the past, present, and future. Yes, The Shining. I start here. I start with the screen that I share because that, to me, when I'm thinking the most iconic images, not only in film history, but especially horror film history. It's this face. It's this artwork. I have it on the wall over there, if you don't believe me. I don't want to shove all this shit in the way, but I swear to you, it is on my wall over there. You cannot go to a horror convention. You can't talk about horror movies. You can't really tiptoe around this particular entry into the wonderful world of horror without mentioning this performance, this role, this movie, this director, Stanley Kubrick, when he moved on from a movie like Barry Lyndon, which was this long, dull, drawn out period piece, which is a really good film. And I had it high on the list when we did Kubrick movies. He moved away from that and knew I needed a hit. And this was the movie that gave him that hit. And Jack Nicholson, to me, is the biggest reason why people remember this movie. It's his performance as Jack Torrance, who, of course, goes to the Overlook Hotel as the winter caretaker. And as the movie kind of plays out, slowly but surely, things are going south. And we see these creepy twins in the hallway and this blood rushing down the hall and the little boy going from carpet to hardwood and carpet to hardwood. And, of course, the visions of ghost past at the diner, at the bar, what'll it be, sir? Joe Turkel. Oh, hey, Lloyd, a little slow tonight. The creepy guy in the bathroom, Delbert Grady. I corrected them, sir. They needed to be corrected. I mean, just great stuff. I love the slow descent to madness for Jack Nicholson. And I always felt the reason this movie works so well is because he truly leads you into the hedge maze and snow in the finale. It's just a magical movie to me. From top to bottom. And of course, I know, people don't like Shelley Duvall in the movie. She's really not the greatest. May she rest in peace. I'd never been a big fan of her performance in the movie either. Danny Lloyd does a good job as the son. I always love Scatman Crothers, a reuniting of Cuckoo's Nest here with he and Scatman. It's funny. Him and Scatman were the best. His best two movies were with Scatman. Isn't that crazy? I just think this movie's brilliant from top to bottom. It's all the scare sequences. It's the director. It's the go check it out. If he's banging on the door, the scene in the bathroom where it's this beautiful woman at first, he makes out with her, and then it's this scabby old lady, and he starts shaking his hand, and oh my God. And did you see anything, Jack? I didn't see a goddamn thing. This is great, man. The facial expressions of how he's slowly but surely fucking losing his mind. And the whole realization of when the wife finds the paper, oh, what have you been writing? How's the book going, honey? You're distracting me. And then she finds out what he's been writing over and over. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And all these different formats and fonts and, formatting, all this stuff. I mean, that just, this is a fucking crazy son of a bitch. And he is just electric. I always just thought the way that slow build moves until he just loses his mind. Wendy, darling, the light of my life, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to bash your brains. And I'm going to bash them right the fuck in. It's just great. Daddy boy! The whole, the acts at the end, and here's Johnny, which was all ad-libbed, and we all remember this iconic image. Like, that to me is one of the most iconic horror movie images of all time, is Jack Nicholson busting through the bathroom, ad-libbing a Johnny Carson greeting, who was a legendary talk show host, and just the smile. Like, yes, it is scary, but it's also Jack. It also has the emphasis and that just electricity that he brought to every picture that he was in. It's iconic. It really could be number one. You really could make that argument. It's one of the great performances of all time. And I know that people don't like it. I know Steven Spielberg famously didn't like it. There's the whole story with he and Stanley Kubrick. They had dinner. And I think at the time, 1941 had come out, which was a piece of shit. And then, of course, Stanley was making this movie. And he said, hey, what did you think of my picture? And Spielberg bullshitted him. He said, oh, I liked this, that, and the other thing. He's like, okay, you didn't like my movie. And he's like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I could tell you're lying to me. Well, what didn't you like? He's like, I could tell you didn't like it. You're tiptoeing around the question. And Spielberg said, I don't think Jack Nicholson was very good at the movie. I thought he went too far over the top. He just doesn't work for me. I didn't think it was good. He seemed like he was crazy the whole time, which I know even Stephen King said. Both Stephen, Spielberg, King. If your name is Stephen, you think this motherfucker was either crazy from the beginning or went over the top. And Stanley Kubrick says, name your favorite actors. And he named his favorite actors. And then he, of course, said, this is just like James Cagney. The reason why Jack Nicholson is so great in this movie is because he's over the top, just like a James Cagney. That's what separates a good performance from a great one. And I think that's what I have in this. It's a great one. And I wholeheartedly agree with fucking Kubrick over Stephen King. I completely agree. It's just such a fucking good movie and great performance. The Shining is an all-time classic. Let's see what y'all have to say in the chat, though. Let's see. I think we were. Oh man, where the hell were we? Okay, yeah, but sometimes watching a movie that will make you feel like shit can be therapeutic. Yes, that's actually a very true point. Raffleson did Mad Trouble after Black Widow. That one is not as bad as people said. Jack and Eileen, Ellen Barkin. Ellen Barkin's a really underrated actress. One of my favorites, but of course my favorite director, you two named Kubrick. Wow, you don't say. Kubrick Lover 1972. You don't fucking say. Slasher Fred, the opening. Oh, dude, of course. Boom, 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 boom. Dude, did you know? I believe, and I didn't see this movie. Actually, no, did I? I forget. Whatever. Dr. Sleep, they reused that footage. I was just like, holy shit. Raffleson made multiple location and setups in the original movie. That is rare now. Did you see King of Marvin Gardens? I did not. I've not seen that. Grade ordered a book from Tashin's website that this guy wrote about The Shining, supposed to have tons of behind-the-scenes info. That's really cool. I mean, this had everybody that was working with Kubrick at the time, like Wendy Carlos and fucking John Alcott. I mean, this had everybody that was the best Kubrick people. So, I mean, it really works. It's such a fucking masterpiece to me. But, yeah, no. I remember watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for the first time back when I was in high school in 11th grade, books on film class. We read the book as well. Dude, that's so funny. That's around the time when I first saw it too. And it was for the same reason. We could read it for summer reading. And that was the book I chose. And I just loved it. And I fell in love with the movie more. Jack is amazing in this movie. Dude, wholeheartedly agree. Stephen King seemed to involve stories involving writers because you also had Misery and, of course, 1408, Secret Window, which all of those ended up being really good movies in their own right. I like all of those movies you just mentioned. Even though I have watched so many clips and scene breakdowns, when I watched this for the first time last year, I was blown away. Amazing movie start to finish. It really is. And it's the perfect winter horror movie. Like the next time it snows, The Shining turns on. It's just goes together like perfectly. You know, you shovel, you get some hot cocoa, and you put on The Shining, and you're just chilling for a few hours. In order to get Jack Nicholson's irritated in The Shining, he was fed cheese sandwiches for 2 weeks. He hates cheese sandwiches. Now, is that not dedication? Would you want to see a movie and or limited series on making of Shining and squabbles between King and Kubrick? Well, not just King and Kubrick, but it would be Shelley Duvall and Kubrick mainly. Maybe Giamatti could be Kubrick and Ray Nicholson could play Jack. Anya Taylor-Joy is Duvall. That's an interesting idea. I don't know. Didn't they do that with The Godfather? It was like I didn't see that either, so I don't know how that all turned out. All work and no play, yes. And speaking of The Godfather, I know JP is a big Godfather guy. Kubrick and Spielberg met each other on set. He was doing Shining, and Spielberg was making. Oh, that's right. Okay, it was Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was writing. That's right. It wasn't 1941. 1941 probably had just come out in 79. Eddie Murphy and Nicholson were considered to play the Grinch. Carrey was ultimately cast as the Grinch. That would have been interesting to see. I could only see Jim Carrey. I feel like Jim Carrey was the only guy that could have played that part. Because when you look at the makeup of the way it weighed Mike Myers down when he was the Cat in the Hat, I don't know if it would have worked the same. The Shining has Jack Nicholson at his best. I can't argue that. Kubrick's set burned down and they had to refilm, so I think Spielberg had to shoot it in France while that was going on. I've heard that story too. Little pigs, not by the hair on my chinny chin chin. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your housey down. Stephen King said it was the worst of his adapted films, which is fucking hysterical. If you've seen Dreamcatcher or if you've seen like The Cell or like some really bad Stephen King adaptations, man, it's funny that if that is, I don't know if he said it's the worst. I've never heard him say it was the worst. I know he said that he just wasn't a fan of it. Spielberg said that it was Kubrick performance by Nicholson. Okay, Nicholson transformation from beginning to end is just incredible. This was worth the Academy Award. Lost to De Niro and Raging Bull Fair. This wasn't. Here's the thing, Mateo. It wasn't nominated. Wasn't even in the nomination. You know, and it was not liked at the time. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, somebody can double check me on this. I believe Jack Nicholson was nominated for Razzie Awards for this movie. I believe Shelley Duvall was too, which is, you know, she's not great in the movie. I really don't. I may she rest in peace. And Stanley Cooper was a dick to her and he wasn't right. But I mean, to nominate this man for a Razzie for this movie, is that not crazy? Like, holy shit, man. In the novel, Jack used a mallet, which was, oh my God, the stupidest thing ever. I'm so glad they changed it to an axe. If you want to see the mallet, you can watch the Steven Weber version, which is inferior. Grande, yeah, I know that video where, yes, that's right, the Cagney reference. Spielberg said now, though, he regards The Shining as one of his favorite films. Yeah, which, I don't know. I mean, that's convenient. I'll just say that. Like, you didn't like the movie. Like, don't, maybe you've warmed up to the movie, but I don't know. I don't know how you go from not liking a movie at all to now it's one of my favorite films. That's rare. The Shining is a masterpiece. Completely agree. And he's watched it at least 15 times. He says if you watch a Kubrick film, you can't stop watching. That's true. I mean, Stanley Kubrick is awesome. According to Shelley Duvall, the famous Here's Johnny scene took 3 days to shoot, and they used 60 doors. I believe that wholeheartedly, especially after hearing some horror stories of Barry Lyndon and how they sometimes took 100+ takes to shoot people walking or riding in a carriage. Like, why would you need 100 takes of someone sitting in a fucking carriage? Stanley Kubrick was fucking insane. And I don't love The Shining as much as other people, but it's still a great movie. Scatman is great at it too. He's overshadowed by Jack, but he brings a charm warp to the movie. Oh, totally. I always thought it was funny to see Apollo Creed's traitor too. Tony Burton's in there in a brief scene. I'm always like, fucking no pain, no pain. Roddy, check out the fake YouTube video with Peter Gabriel's Salisbury Hill showing a trailer of The Shining as a family film. Really, this movie's a masterpiece and so quotable. I sometimes try to find a way to work in the less popular quote. See, it's okay. He saw it on the television into a combo. Yeah, it's right. They ate each other up. Would you like to have seen a mid-90s thriller with Andy Hopkins and Nicholson? That could have been awesome. Dude, I could have watched those two guys in a fucking musical and been entertained, really. I mean, that's how good those two actors are. Maybe a legal thriller or a spy thriller? Sure. Why the hell not? De Niro deserved that Oscar for Raging Bull. Sorry. Wow. That's a fucking... Here, that's a question for the chat. De Niro and Raging Bull or Jack Nicholson The Shining? I would say fucking Jack Nicholson. I would actually go with Jack Nicholson. But again, I'm a horror movie fan, so maybe I'm a little bit too on the side of the genre. I mean, I like Raging Bull a lot too, but I think I would say I'd take Jack Nicholson. I don't know. That's just more my kind of movie and performance, but I can understand that. Stephen King never understood why people found The Shining so scary. That's crazy. See, I think it's a fucking terrifying movie. In fact, I think the director is the most important part of it, even more important than Jack. I think it works because the empty space, it allows your imaginations to run riot. Fitting that Kubrick was a fan of TCM as well, which is the one of two movies horror-wise I think is better than The Shining. It's Dawn of the Dead, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that is The Shining. That's the top 3 horror movies ever made, to me. I get King, though, if someone messes with your work, your baby. Exactly, and he always said the famous line, in my film, the hotel, you know, in Stanley's film, the hotel freezes. In my book, the hotel burns down. Stanley made a film, I made a war book. I get it, but no. I'm like he's not entitled to his opinion. I'm just saying I would think the majority of people would lean towards the movie. I really do. I know there's the Stephen King loyalist, and God bless him. I'm sorry. 300 takes in the carriage for Barry Lyndon. They used the third take. That's right. That's the story. If we went with take 3, I always love that story with this fucking the guy at the world premiere. He was like, "What take did he end up using?" "Oh, take 3." He was like, "Motherfucker, what?" Like, oh my God, that must have been the greatest. Like, oh, what a fucking maniac. Toby Hooper was amazed that Kubrick wanted to meet him. That's right, dude. Can you imagine? Like, I mean, I love Toby, but fuck, man, if anybody like that wanted to meet him, that's just great. Scatman and Jack in KOMG, and Jack and Bruce Dern as so good as brothers. Dern as a con man. Okay. After seeing this movie, Stephen King has said, "I think I set out to make a movie that hurts people." Okay. The Shining, better than Raging Bull. I wasn't too hot on that movie. After having a kid, I sympathize with Jack Torrance. Oh my God. That's some pretty dark shit right there. Alpha Romero's going to be eating eggs and bacon. Be like, "Hey, buddy." Like, De Niro, Raging Bull, Jack was already unhinged at the start of the film. It just gets more amplified by the hotel. Okay. I think the part with King is jealousy. Yeah, that's probably a part of it. Danny and Mr. Halloran eating ice cream is the best scene. She called it shining. I don't want to go in room 237. Why don't? I just don't, you know. You afraid of room 237, ain't you? No, I ain't. I love that. Tom Cruise and Nicholson. I think It's funny you mentioned that scene. I think that is the most takes ever any scene in history of film. I don't know the exact number. I'm sure maybe Kubrick Lover knows it. I think that is the most takes in the history of cinema for one scene. Was that scene? It's like something in the 200s, I think. Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson were going to reteam for a movie called El Presidente, where Cruise would be a Secret Service person, Nicholson a former president. That sounds like a shitty idea. I'm a fan of Scorsese, so no wonder I like Raging Bull. Well, you're also a fucking Kubrick lover 1972, so no wonder you like Kubrick. For The Shining, Stephen King thought Stanley Kubrick was out to make a movie to hurt people. Also, both their names start with an S, and both their last names start with wow. Bronson BWW's going into this, man. Love the book, love the movie. Two different takes on a story. That's a great way to look at it. I will not lie to you. I've never read the book. I can't say, oh, what I like better over the other. I just think that the movie is great. I know there are some people that say the movie's a piece of shit. I'm sorry. That I don't. I can't see it. I can't see calling it a piece of shit. But Jack Nicholson in The Shining comes in at number 2. So we've gone through 9 Jack Nicholson movies, and all leads up to number 1, my all-time favorite Jack Nicholson movie. And I guess it shouldn't be any surprise, should it? I mean, this is a movie that swept the Academy Awards in the year 1975. Of course, the major categories: Best Director, Best Lead Actor, Actress, Screenplay, and Picture. A movie that truly made me feel every emotion, just like, we were saying all night, of how an actor and movies and things like that could make you feel so much. I think when I did my top 20 all-time movies episode, when I got back from the hospital after having COVID, I had this at the number 11 slot. And I mean, it's that damn good of a movie. It's in my top 11 all time. It's my number 1 Jack Nicholson performance in film. This is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yes, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Brief plot synopsis: in the fall of 1963, a Korean War veteran and criminal pleads insanity and is admitted to a mental institution where he rallies up the scared patients against the tyrannical Nurse Ratched. Yes, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, it's one of the greatest movies ever made. It really is. It's number 1. I mean, I love him as R.P. McMurphy. It's just, every time I watch the movie, it never ceases to amaze me. It never ceases to, challenge me. And I think that that's the beauty of this movie. And like, I just go to certain scenes. There's the great scene where he's trying to get the nurse to put on the baseball game. It's the World Series, and he really wants to watch it. And he goes around the group, and so-and-so, they all raise their hands. Come on, you need one more vote, Mr. McMurphy. All right. The way Jack goes around the room, it's so small, but it's so great. He goes from one guy is just a fucking crazy. He starts singing the Star Spangled Banner, and the rockets red glare. He fucking goes over. One guy's just dancing. He starts dancing with him to try to get him to vote. Anything. He goes up to Michael Berryman and just fucking goes like, I'm not going to ask him. Like, I love that. And then until he gets to the chief, and the chief just, slowly puts the hand up. And then, of course, the chief, he just voted. The chief, I'm sorry, Mr. McMurphy, the meeting's been adjourned. You can open with the meeting with this discussion tomorrow. And he's like, you fucking bitch, you're not going to do this to me now. And so he sits down, he's all upset. And in protest, he starts to pretend like he could watch the World Series on TV, and he starts to commentate like he's a color commentator in the booth. Oh, it's a base hit to left field. Somebody got me a freaking hot dog. Oh my God, they're going crazy. They're going wild. He's trying to steal second. He goes off on this whole and the way they gravitate towards him, I thought was just beautiful. And the best scene in the entire movie to me is when they're all playing cards in like one of the break rooms. And they're playing cards, and he says, one of these days, I'm just going to rip this thing out of the floor. I'm going to throw it out the window, and I'm going to get out of here. Does anybody want to bet? And he gets up in their faces, and I'll bet $1. I'll bet a dime. I'll bet $25. You have all these great, Christopher Lloyd and Danny DeVito. I'm talking about Ford. I'm talking about The Human Condition. All these great actors around him. And him and Danny would be friends to this day. I think they're best friends to this day, Danny DeVito and Jack Nicholson. He tries and he strains and he pulls to move this water thing, and he kind of gives up. And as he's walking out of the room, he says, yeah, well, at least I tried. At least I fucking tried. He walks out of the room. And to me, that's the part of the movie where you just go, that's my guy. Like I'm with him. The energy, the effort, the determination to do that, even though he failed, you have sympathy for him and you admire his courage to try to stand up when everybody else is just sitting around betting dimes and dollars and $25. And of course, once he finds out the chief is not dumb and deaf and all these things, he's Chief, what are we doing here, man? What the hell are we doing here? I love that. We're just trying to have that mano with one another. It's just great. It's just great stuff. I love Nicholson in this. To me, if you're going to have the reason this is number one is if you want a little bit of everything from him and the guy that gave us a little bit of everything in his career, I think this is his most grand performance. There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of charm. There's great serious moments. There's crazy moments. There's moments where he's more reserved. It's just a little bit of everything. It's the most grand Nicholson performance, and everybody around him really helps. Louise Fletcher is the most hateable. Oh my God. And she even said that when she won the Oscars. She's like, I'm so glad you all hated me too. She was great. She was so great. You wanted her to get strangled at the end. That's the type of heat that she had. You really want McMurphy to strangle her at the end. I mean, think about that. Think about how much you've got to hate somebody to actually want this guy to strangle her at the end. Once she, Billy Bibbit, Brad Dourif's character, I'm going to tell your mother, Billy. No. He starts crying. No, don't do it. And he takes his whole life. I mean, you almost cry. And then you get to the fucking finale where they've done something to kind of fuck with his brain. And the chief goes, hey, Mac, I knew you wouldn't leave without me. You're as big as a mountain, man. And he sees that, he has the scar on his head and he just fucking hugs him. He's like, oh. And then he, through what Jack Nicholson did before, the whole thing with the water thing, he rips it out of the thing, throws it through the window, and you get this great, inspiring music. And then fucking Christopher Lloyd, yeah, cheering him on, go, Chief, go. And all of them kind of waking up like, holy shit, this fucking guy, he inspired the chief to get the fuck out of Dodge and throw that thing through the window and run off into the sunset. I mean, that's one of the best endings ever. The music, the way it's directed by Milos Forman, the fucking, just the uplifting moment after having the sad, McMurphy's killed off and suffocated because he's never going to be the same. He wouldn't want it to be that way. I'm taking you with me, Mac. It's just what his character meant to all of them, whether it be they were voluntary or not, whether they be crazy or not, whether they be, struggling with, their mothers or their lives or whatever, he affected all of them. He really changed all of them. And through them, one of them got the courage to just smash the window and run out like McMurphy said. To me, that's why I love movies. And that's why I love Jack Nicholson. It was his words to the chief that makes him ultimately, crash that window at the end. And he's just, it's the biggest, like, you cheer, like, yes, like, go. I love Christopher Lloyd because he's all of us. He's the, like, go, run as fast and far as you can, man. Great stuff. Cuckoo's Nest, it just has to be number one. You can't top Cuckoo's Nest when it comes to Jack Nicholson cinema, in my humble opinion. Let's see where we were. I think we were here. Cuckoo? Yes, sir. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a very touching movie because you feel the abuse that mental patients go through. Absolutely. You hear about all of it, the day-to-day stuff. Yes, some of these guys do seem crazy, but then there's the point where he finds out that some of them are voluntary. And he's like, a young kid like you should be driving around in convertibles hunting down beaver. And then they start laughing. He goes, that's not funny. He's like, what's funny about that? He's wasting his youth in here. And I love how he makes them realize, they're like, you're right. It's not fucking, but it's actually sad. Like, he makes them realize that. This is such a tearjerker. Absolutely it is. Imagine Beetlejuice saying, here's Johnny. Oh my God, that's a random thought. The theme of this kind of feels like a Native American theme. And it's great for the chief. Who remembers who played Nurse Ratched? I can't remember her name. Louise Fletcher. Thank you, Slasher Fred. Nurse Ratched has got to be the greatest villains. Louise Fletcher killed it in that film. Yeah, and for the rest of her career, got a lot of roles like this. Like Flowers in the Attic probably doesn't happen with her as that part, without this movie. And she was great. I mean, may she rest in peace. She was really good at this movie. Danny DeVito, Brad Dourif in early performances. Absolutely. I would even say, and you got to mention Christopher Lloyd, Michael Berryman. It's crazy, for a movie that's 50 years old, 50 plus, almost 50 years old, right? What is it, 75 or 74? 75. Okay, so it's turning 50 next year. A lot of these people are still alive. Berryman's still alive. Durham is still alive. Danny DeVito's still alive. Jack is still alive. The Chief died just a few years after this movie. Louis Fletcher sadly is gone. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, considering it's such an old film, a lot of these people still around. Brad Dourif was also amazing and it's just a perfect film. Yeah, he's great as Billy Bibbit. Brad Dourif is really underrated. It'd be fun to do one of these on Brad Dourif. I could talk for this movie for hours. So can I. I will just say thank you for spotlighting the disaster of how medicine deals with mental health in the 1970s. Went on until the 90s. Masterpiece all around. Completely agree. It's just I think it's a great, it's worthy of being a top 10 movie ever. It's in my top 11. When I sat down, made my top ever, this was number 11. So, I mean, I love this movie. Yep, the whole cast, amazing. This movie also had Christopher Lloyd, even though he became known for being played Doc Brown. I love when he played the Judge Doom. Okay, you haven't taken your meds, Mr. Cheswick. Yeah, I just want my cigarettes. I also had Will Sampson. This movie is brilliant. It's a movie about friendship and unity when the world casts you aside. Absolutely. So glad it was Jack and not Kirk Douglas in the role. I like Kirk Douglas, but nobody. I repeat, no. I've seen this on a play several different times. I actually really like plays. And all due respect, they were very good productions, both of them. It just, the biggest thing they were missing was the lead. Like, you just can't, I can't see anyone else playing that part to me. It's like, that's Jack Nicholson's part. It really, really is to me. DeVito directed Gotti, about John Gotti, the famous mafia guy played by Nicholson. So many colorful characters in this movie and so many great character actors. It's so true. It does. Every time I see that, I cheer, but I'm like crying at the same time. Like, how many no matter how many times I've seen it, like, it still has that effect. This movie came out the same year as Jaws, and of course, Will Sampson appeared in the Jaws ripoff Orca. Ratchet is awful in this movie. Yeah, she's so evil, man. I rented One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'll send you over my review after I watch it. Awesome. And the third Elm Street movie, and it also had Nurse Ratched-like character played by Priscilla. That's true. And even she couldn't gain that same heat that Louis Fletcher did. Love his performance. You really never know if he's actually crazy or just clever, and he does a great job at walking that line. That's a great point. Yeah, it's true. And it's like, what are we doing in here, Chief? I love that. I love that he has the chance to get away, but they started to mean something to him too. Like, he runs back for Billy, and pretty much that decision costs him his life. Like, if he just ran out the window and just forgot about them, he would have been fine. He would have been home free. But you realize that not only did he, mean a lot to them, they meant a lot to him. And I think that's the beauty of this movie. It's something that not everybody's going to notice. She made a long career of horror movies. Yes, she did. Rest in Pepperonis, Louise Fletcher. Can't argue with that. One of the Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is Jack's best. Yeah, I think it's number one. It has to be. I also like the female version, Girl Interrupted, but it didn't hold the candle to Cuckoo. I love Girl Interrupted, but yeah, no. Compare it. That's apples and fucking oranges to this movie. There's only 10 movies in the world to me that you could compare to this that could have an argument of being better. The rest of all the movies ever, they can take a back seat, my friend. But that is, of course, number one Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest of the Jack Nicholson Actor Spotlight episode here. So yeah, this is probably the longest one we've ever did. We're coming up on 2.5 fucking hours. So sorry for the little bit of a long episode, but this was a lot of fun. We went on some tangents, went down the road of all these fun Jack Nicholson performances, and it was fun. We had a really active chat here tonight. So I want to thank all of you guys that were a part of this. What are some movies you'd like to have seen Jack be in? That's really tough. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question to ask me on the fucking spot here. I wish you would ask me that and I had a week to come up with that. Movies that I would have liked, maybe try to think of what. What's crazy to me is like the amount of like great directors he didn't work with. Like, I don't believe he ever worked. He never worked Spielberg. Spielberg, I guess, was not a fan. He never worked De Palma, I don't think. I don't think he ever worked De Palma. That would have been really cool. Because Mateo and I, we were talking about all these great actors, Josh Travolta and Al Pacino and, Kevin Costner that worked with work with De Palma, but I don't believe Jack Nicholson ever did. It's more for me like what filmmakers would it have been cool to see him work. Like, that's for me. I don't have a movie off the top of my head where I went, that should have been with Jack Nicholson. Like, I can't say. I would have loved to have seen him work with Robin Williams, just because I'm a big fan of those guys. I don't know. I think that would have been something really cool too, because apparently they were good buddies in real life. Like, there's a really funny thing you can watch is with Jack Nicholson Daniel Day-Lewis and Robin Williams all like were nominated for Best Actor at the Golden Globes. And there was a two-way tie of the three people between Daniel Day-Lewis and Jack Nicholson. And they brought Robin Williams on the stage. He was like, you know what? If we're getting to make speeches, split Robin up here too. And then Robin came up and they just both like started cutting promo. It was great. It was really, really nice. So that's a cool scene or a cool moment. Encore, Jack, encore. Everybody get your Jack Nicholson on. Bravo, nice stream grinding. Thank you, Kubrick Lover. What a great episode, John. Thank you, Mateo. I appreciate that, man. Have you watched the Ratchet series? Great imagery, but little connection to. I've not seen it. No. Is that a Netflix show? Is that on HBO? That sounds like HBO, but I don't know. Awesome top 10 Ronnie. Only, thank you so much. Only on the Graveyard, Too Sweet Peas. Yeah. I'm surprised Tarantino never cast Nicholson at any point. Yeah, there's so many like great filmmakers that never did it. I think Nicholson would have been great in The Lighthouse. That is a really interesting point. Wow. So you're saying Nicholson over Defoe in The Lighthouse, but you still have Pattinson? Holy shit, that would have been awesome. That would have been really cool. I'm with you. That sounds like a fun. And I love Defoe, and it's hard to out Defoe, but if there is one motherfucker that could give him a run for his money, it's Jack Nicholson. Good night to everybody. Nicholson instead of Lithgow, Blowout, mind-blowing. Holy shit, that's a great point, too. And I really like John Lithgow in that movie. Holy shit, man. You guys are coming up with some really good ones. Fun. I feel bad. I couldn't come up with anything on the spot as good as you guys. Netflix for Ratchet. Okay, very cool. Jack Nicholson and Tim Curry in a movie. Dueling serial killers would be interesting, and they're trying to one-up each other. Oh, my God, that's a great idea. They need to make that script right now. See, that's unfortunately, both guys are just not in the shape to do that anymore. Great show, man. Thank you so much, Bradley. The host of this show does a great job. He's very cute, too. Oh, my gosh, thank you so much. Love Stacy. Thank you so much, Stacy. In the party scene in The Shining, Stanley Kubrick asked the extras to mouth their words. That's right. That's right. In the Gold Room, the opening shot from Patch Adams is inspired by the opening shot of Cuckoos. Okay, and people talking about it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I had such a great time here tonight at Grande's Graveyard. Next week, join me, Alpha Romero, Matt Landrum, and Uncle Bill from Deadpin as we bring to you the 10th Horror Roundtable special. We'll each have 2 topics, 8 topics total, 4 guests, and absolutely no regrets. Next week on the Horror Roundtable number 10, Nicholson and the Hitcher would have been fun too. Yes, that's true too. Although we'll got to give Rutger that one. We can't. No, I'm giving Rutger that one. I'm sorry, but you're right. He would have been fucking awesome. Take care, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for a fun show, fun evening. Everybody have a safe, happy, healthy weekend, and we will catch you next time. Only on the Graveyard. Too Sweet Peace, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody. Cheers.